Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular City Council meeting and the RDA meeting of the City of Hawaiian Gardens, Tuesday, July 14th, 2015 at 6 p.m. Welcome you here. I know that there's great community concern, and we look forward to giving you the opportunity tonight to speak. We have a few things that we need to do before we come to that, so let's go ahead and have the flag salute and the invocation by our city clerk.
Place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you'd join me for a moment of prayer. Heavenly Father, there are times when it's hard to know how to pray. And that's why I'm giving this to the Holy Spirit. There's a lot of hurt and a lot of anger in this room tonight. It's called mourning. There are people that are mourning their loved one, their friend, their father, their son, their husband. And Father, it hurts us all because we are a family. So tonight I'm asking everyone in this congregation, in this council chambers, to join me in saying the ultimate prayer, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, Sue. Before we get started tonight, I would like to ask the rest of council members, do the roll call, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Director Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Director Gomez.
Here.
Councilmember Director Farfan.
Here.
Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chairman Rios.
Present.
Mayor Chairman Bruce.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Before we get started, I wanted to ask the rest of the council for an agenda organization or a reorganization. This is not on the agenda tonight's major concern of the community, so I would like to have a vote for it to be put on the agenda to be added tonight regarding the shooting of Johnny Anderson, so that we can address the community during our oral communications time. So if I can get a second for that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Good. So the way we're going to do things tonight is we do have regular business that was already agendized, and so we have to address it. But we're going to address it towards the end of the meeting because I know there's a lot of community members here, and I know how important it is for you to voice your concerns and ask questions. So what I'm going to ask is that we reorganize the oral communications part to best serve the thoughts and the community concerns. And so those that have comments tonight that are not regarding the shooting, other business, I would like for you to come up and state your business or whatever your concerns are in the community first, so as that you will not have to wait for a long period of time. Is there anybody that has anything that is not regarding the shooting to speak to? Go ahead and come to the dais.
Good evening, Mayor Bruce, members of the City Council, and community members of Hawaiian Gardens. My name is Michael Vong. I am the field representative for Congresswoman Linda Sanchez. I'm here on her behalf today to really do outreach for two events she will be having that would greatly benefit the residents of Hawaiian Gardens. The first event that would be coming up on August 11th is the Senior Scam Stopper. We are working with the Hawaiian Gardens Senior Center in providing a panel discussion from members of different government agencies from the contractors, state licensing board, the state controller's office that can provide information regarding scams and fraud prevention. A lot of our seniors are facing these issues on a daily basis, and we want to make sure we provide them as much information as possible. The seminar will be both in English and Spanish, and it will be happening during the senior lunch hour. Again, it's Tuesday, August 11th at the Senior Center. The second event, I've also left flyers with Sue Underwood for your reference. The second event is the 13th Annual Senior Fair the Congresswoman hosts every year. It'll be held at Cerritos College on August 14th. It's a Friday from 9 to 12 p.m. Again, it's a resource fair for our seniors. There will be free health screenings, health education, food assistance programs, veterans assistance, and elder rights, elder law information. I have flyers too. They're throughout city facilities. They're more outside the council chambers. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else? I just wanted to make sure that there's nobody else that has any other business. Oh yeah, there is one more that is not regarding the shooting.
Good afternoon. My name is Pastor Manny. I have a church right up the street here in Lakewood, probably a block here from Hawaiian Gardens. And it's not regarding the shooting. What we do there is we're there to mend the hearts and the souls of the people that are hurting. And we had a tremendous amount of people that came out to our church after this incident that occurred. And just the other day, we had about 150 people there to help raise funds for it. But after that, I did something like a little Christian rap for MC Boulevard, kind of not take their minds off the mourning, but to help them appreciate something different and something new and put a smile on people's faces. That was my whole agenda, put a smile on their faces. So that day we had probably about 100 people, and I'm asking the board, if possible, if Living Word Harvest Lakewood, right down the street, which ministers to tremendous amount of people in Hawaiian Gardens, if we can do something special here at the Civic Center. I have a Christian rappers that want to come out to the Hawaiian Gardens, a car show, having booths, food, candy, and it's kind of a way to bring the community together during a time of tragedy like this. You know, when people are in tragedy, it's good to come together united as one, as a family, as we are here now. And it's something that's kind of outside of the norm of what the agenda is, but I think it'll help out the community quite a bit, and I'm here for the community because I do tend to a lot of people in Hawaiian Gardens, and I want to see how we can help assist us by maybe having it in the parking lot, somewhere in this vicinity here. We can go into the community and reach the hearts that are broken, the hearts that are in pain, the hearts that are mourning, the hearts that do have anger, hearts that do have hatred, many hearts, to help alleviate that a little bit and bring that down a little bit so they can feel a sense that, hey, we're here, we're a community, and we want to help support each other. And that's the agenda for August 2nd. If I can have it here at the Civic Center, if not, I will have it at the church, but I would like to be able to invite the city of Hawaiian Gardens out to this little festival and just appreciate them, so to speak. That's about it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, I look forward to talking to you about it after the meeting, maybe. Did you say the tattoo removal? Oh. Do we want to do it now? Probably do. Yeah, I know we had some remarks from Clean Slate that was here tonight. This would probably be the best time for you to do that, as opposed to later on in the agenda, because it might be quite a while.
Hi. I know some of you already know me because I was here at Hawaiian Gardens 2 years ago. We were doing tattoo removal as a contracted agency through Hawaiian Gardens. We want to come back, but not as a contracted agency, but as a service that's going to provide tattoo removal to Hawaiian Gardens and all the communities that want to come and get served. What we're looking for is a space to do it. And since we've been here in Hawaiian Gardens, we feel very comfortable being here. We're hoping the city will agree to allow us to utilize one of the facilities to continue our once-a-month tattoo removal programs that happen on the second weekend of every month. And we've been doing this since 1995. So we've been around for a long time. We are a nonprofit, and I'm just hoping that you'll give us a space for us to continue our work. And we want to show you some before and afters, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
He started about a year and a half ago. He came in with those tattoos, and that's him now. He is now a father of a 6-month-old baby, has a job, and is doing really well in his life. This is a young lady. This was the first picture is after 2 treatments. It was much darker than this, and this is where we saw her about 3 months ago, and we saw her just this weekend, and you can't see it anymore. It's gone. This young man came here when we were in Hawaiian Gardens to get his tattoos removed. I'm not sure if he was from the community, but he came during the time when we were housed here. And as you can see, that was only with 2 treatments. And this person is incredible. He came to us with a huge dragon. He was in a different kind of gang than I'm used to working with. It was a biker gang that he belonged to. And he came for help, and that was after 2 treatments. So our work is really good. We do excellent work. We have great client care. We have medical staff that come and volunteer to help us do this. And he was out of Hawaiian Gardens as well. This picture, we've been working on him for over a year. Blue is a hard color to remove as far as tattoo removal goes. And this was him just this weekend. And he's very happy. When we first met him, he wouldn't even talk. He came in and he kept his head down and his baseball cap low, and we'd say hi to him and he'd be like really quiet. Now he comes in and it's like we're dealing with an old friend. He comes in, starts shaking hands and talking to all the clients. So he feels that it has opened him up to be more receptive of interactions with people, because he was ashamed of it. He doesn't even remember why he did it. But that's what we'd like to do here in Hawaiian Gardens. And we would be bringing our full clinic here, which means on a given Saturday you could have over 100 people getting treated. And on Sundays we treat about 80. So we have people coming from as far as Bakersfield, Nevada, coming for tattoo removal. So you'll have quite a diverse group of people coming here. But we think the city is the right place for us to do this. You welcomed us before, and we hope you'll welcome us back again. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Any questions before I go?
I do have a question, Mayor, but not for you. I have a question for staff. We approved in the budget $15,000, I believe, for a tattoo removal program. Is this regarding them?
Yes, yes, it is. Mayor Pro Tem Rios, there is some funds allocated, and it is an item in the agenda that you will be taking action on a little later tonight.
It's just a permission for them to use the facility. It's not the tattoo removal program, as I read it.
It's both.
It's both?
Yes. We're currently working out some details in reference to how we're going to work the fee waiver structure. So we'll be having further discussions on how we approach that.
My question is more in regards to how much does it take for like a tattoo like that to be removed? Like cost. I don't have any tattoos or anything, so I'm not familiar with.
I'd give you a deal. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Give me a deal, yay! I'm sorry, I won't deal with the pain.
Okay, so normally, if people were going to go to a dermatology clinic, a piece like that, they'd be paying $4,000 or $5,000 a treatment, easily. We are charging that young man $150 a treatment.
Wow.
Which we believe in. We have a philosophy that we believe people should pay for the services they receive, but we feel they should be affordable. And for people who qualify, come talk to us and tell us they have a financial need, then we go even further, especially if it's facial tattoos, gang-related tattoos on the neck, hands, face. And some of the tattoos that aren't easily seen, we don't slide as far because you can obviously cover them if you want to. But if there's an emotional, psychological issue, like we've removed names from women who had the names of their abusers tattooed on them. Now, we believe we should slide for them as well. We think emotionally people feel better when they like themselves. And if you see this every day in the mirror, it's hard to like yourself when you feel it's permanent and it's inaccessible. Now, there are free programs. The one that I know really well is Homeboy Industries, and the waiting list is about 2 years, and they treat you every 4 to 5 months. And, we'll treat you every month if you can come to us. And if we can do anything we can to make it affordable, we do. But we just need to keep our doors open as well. We have insurances, we have laser repairs, we have doctors that oversee that we have to take care of. But for the majority of our staff are volunteer.
So besides Homeboy Industries, who provides your funding?
Nobody funds us. We don't take any government money.
So how do you put your costs down to $150 for a $5,000 job?
Because we're able to lease the machine, and we know the doctor really well, so we
Okay, so
don't buy it. We didn't buy one. The machine is a $100,000 machine. We lease it. He's also in the nonprofit sector. He gives us a really good deal to lease it. The nurses and doctors volunteer. We pay for the wraps and everything we have to do, but we do make enough from the clients to keep up, and we see 100 people.
So it's
If he-
primarily pro bono. Do you have any people on the waiting list from Hawaiian Gardens at the moment?
We have people from Hawaiian Gardens that are going all the way out to Whittier to get treated.
But do you have them on the waiting list right now to get serviced?
I think that's something that maybe Sylvia can answer. I don't know.
She is going to be in charge of the project here, as I believe, correct?
But we get called constantly, and when we did our last clinic, which is this weekend, people from Hawaiian Gardens were really excited. They go, "You're coming back to Hawaiian Gardens?" I said, "I don't know. I can let you know after the council meeting, but that's our hope." And they've been traveling to go get their service, so they're committed. And I think that sometimes I believe when you pay for something, you're a little more committed than when you don't. That's just the way that's my philosophy.
And the price is really amazing compared to what the price is out there. And you, as I understand, also had tattoos removed yourself.
Yeah, I used to be sleeved. Yeah,
And-
I used to have tattoos
yeah,
all
and
over
you'd
my arms.
never know it ever.
Yeah,
looking
and my
at you.
quote in 1985 was 10 grand. And I found a doctor who would do it for me for $200 a treatment. I had a job, and that's how the concept came to me, that I didn't mind paying, but I couldn't afford to pay $1,000 every time I came in. And so that's how the whole idea came to me. I went to some doctors who liked the idea. They let me use their lasers. They like what we're doing for the community, so they step up. I mean, they step up and they figure it's once a month. We're helping a lot of people, and we're changing lives. We really have. That young man who had the facial tattoos, we have totally changed his life. He's just a different person when he walks in. He's not a homie anymore. He's a dad.
If I can remember, don't you also have a counseling part of the program where they are required or encouraged to receive some type of counseling from your?
Well,
from
we
your-
offer it. We tried to impose it before, and it just doesn't seem to work very well when you impose something. But we have people who end up coming to, I'm also a director of a mental health agency, so they end up coming there for counseling. And if you ever wanted us to do something here, we sure would. We'd love to do something here in Hawaiian Gardens. But first, we want to do the tattoo removal. And if more happens after that, we'd be really happy.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I remember that when last time you was here that I visited your program a couple of times, and we do have a lot of Hawaiian Gardens
Yes.
people that go to the tattoo, and they even got a special discount because at that time we subsidized something like $30,000 for that, so they were paying less than normal people that were coming from outside the city. And if you went up there while they're doing their removal, you can actually smell the skin being burned up there. So
Yeah, it's not pleasant. It hurts.
It's not pleasant.
Way to sell the program.
Yeah,
man.
I don't scare anybody.
But no, I don't know how much pain they go through, but they
a
were
lot.
very happy. They were very happy to be there. Yeah.
Well, that's part of the commitment because, we do sell numbing creams that really help, but most of the people come through without anything, and because they're committed to this process. And we saw 177 people at Hawaiian Gardens when we were here, and the 55 that we saw were outsiders. So it was still a bigger percentage of Hawaiian Gardens residents. It may be the other way around now because we have people coming from everywhere, but definitely Hawaiian Gardens they'll receive the service that they used to get before, same quality.
Okay.
Well, I know there's quite a few people in my church that had your service when we offered it here, and they're very happy with your work, and yeah, their tattoos are completely gone. So
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you.
it.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anybody else not regarding the shooting? Okay. Okay, what we're going to do now in oral communications is a little different than we usually do. I'm going to give the community the opportunity to speak to these issues, but I want to go over a couple of ground rules just to make sure that everybody understands. And this is for the good of everybody and for the good of our viewing audience. This is a live telecast right now. During oral communications, understand that there is 3 minutes on the clock for each speaker. And the reason we do that is not to be rude. We do that so that everybody is allotted the same amount of time. And so we will try to enforce that. I mean, obviously, you know, if someone is, you know, really upset or something, we're not going to like just cut you off. But you do need to kind of be mindful of the fact that we do have a 3-minute max for each speaker to state their question or their comment. And that's just to make sure that everyone gets treated fairly. And since this is a live telecast and it's prime time, I would like to ask you to please be careful about your speech. Please don't use profanity. This is a public forum, and we want everyone to be able to hear it. And it's just polite. Secondly, also understand that speech that prompts or incites violence is not going to be encouraged. I understand that there's a lot of passion and a lot of hurt and pain, but we can't have violence being instigated here. So those are important things to remember. And again, I understand that emotions are raw, but if we can abide by these conditions, it will just make for a much better meeting. And it'll get your points across so much better. We do have, as you can see, a lot of law enforcement here. We have a lot of brass here. I could go on and introduce each one of them, but there's a lot. I think for the sake of time, what I intend to do is if you have a question, I may ask one of them to come up and respond to your question right after you give it. Since this is an agendized thing now, since council agendized it, it's more like a public meeting now than it is like oral communications. Let's go ahead and have the first person come forward and go ahead and speak.
Hello, I'm Mary Magdalene Canoy. I grew up in Hawaiian Gardens. I'm here welcoming the OIG, Office of the Inspector General, to begin a separate investigation into the death of Johnny Anderson. We'd like to know the deputy that was involved, if they could be suspended, I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words here. We want justice for Johnny Anderson. He was just, as far as the story goes, fixing his bike. And it's been a long time in the city of Hawaiian Gardens that Lakewood sheriffs have been pretty mean towards us because of something that happened 8 years ago by an individual who wasn't in their right mind. Through that, we got the gang injunction. Through that, there's gang enhancement on every little thing. If you're in Hawaiian Gardens, also you can be arrested and also while you're incarcerated, be assaulted on because you're from Hawaiian Gardens. There's just a lot of things that just the name Hawaiian Gardens makes a target on your back through the sheriffs and the police. I ask that the OIG does their job and finds out the truth, because from what I heard, the sheriff that shot him was a veteran officer, and also a training officer, and I hope that they're not in the business of just shooting unarmed men without a shirt on that are just basically trying to get away because they're afraid of the gang injunction. I wish I had more to say on this subject. I just wanted to get that point across. Please let there be a separate investigation and a thorough one, and that there be justice for Johnny Anderson, because we feel that this was a murder and not a proper officer involved shooting. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Francine Trevino. I'm the sister of Johnny Anderson. My brother was killed July 5th by Lakewood Sheriff Station. And I want to know why he's still sitting behind a desk. Why is he getting paid while my brother is sitting at a morgue? It's not right. They know what he did was wrong. Why isn't he being punished for it? Why? Just from what I hear, you guys say that you have no authority of getting rid of them losing their job. Well, don't you pay their salary? You have authority, some type of authority to get them off that desk. My brother he won't ever come back. I lost a little brother, and it's unreplaceable. While he's sitting at a desk. And then after that, he should be prosecuted just like anybody else. Go to jail. When everything comes out, they'll find out he was wrong. I know my baby brother, and he didn't do nothing. He didn't do what they said he did. I just hope you guys find a way to get him off the desk. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we have somebody else come up, I would like to ask Captain Rod Cush from the Homicide Bureau, if you'll come up to the mic that's over here. I heard some questions about media reports. People have an idea of, are they getting their ideas of what's going on from media? And if you can kind of explain to the audience what the protocol is when an officer is involved in a shooting. Why is he sitting at a desk? Good question. And if you can just kind of turn to the audience and talk to them, it'd probably be better than addressing us, or maybe do a half cheat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department's Homicide Bureau is responsible for investigating all deputy-involved shootings countywide where there's been an injury due to deputies' gunfire in some manner, shape, or form. There's a number of reasons why I won't be able to talk about the specifics of this particular case, but I'll at least explain the process that we use. When we get called out to investigate, we've got seasoned investigators who go out there to the scene at the time of the shooting, and their purpose is to collect evidence, to look for witnesses, and talk to people on the street. But at the same time, we have come out with us members of the Justice System Integrity Division of the District Attorney's Office. Their role is to ultimately review any case that we put together and turn to them, which we will in due time. Along with them comes out a member from the Office of Inspector General. So there's us out there, there's the District Attorney's Office out there, the Office of Inspector General is out there, and there's also members from our Internal Affairs Bureau. They're the folks that handle administrative issues that surround shootings. So once we ultimately put a case together, meaning our bureau is the lead investigative entity, we put a case together and we send that over to the District Attorney's Office. That usually takes us a fair amount of time. There's a lot of evidence that gets collected in any of these types of cases. There's a lot of folks that we interview. There's analysis that needs to take place of evidence. There's coroner's reports that we need to look at if there's a fatality. So it takes us a few months to get that information together, and then we send it over to the District Attorney's Office. Once the District Attorney's Office looks at it, they issue what's called a letter of opinion. It basically gives a legal opinion about the facts of that shooting and whether that shooting was within the legal parameters or not. Once that occurs, then there's an administrative follow-up within the department to see if the employee adhered to training tactics and policy issues. That's handled by a different committee within the department to make those determinations. And at the beginning, there was a discussion about what the present deputy's role is. Anytime there's a deputy-involved shooting, there's a time when the employee comes out of the field and is assigned to different duties during the interim stages of an investigation. So then there's some managerial decisions that get made about whether that employee goes back out in the field or what happens to them into the future. But regarding employment issues, usually those things take many weeks and months to met out because the criminal process has to take place first, and that's followed by an administrative process that follows thereafter.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And you're the detective, the homicide detective assigned to this case.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. I'm the commanding officer of our homicide bureau, so I'm a captain in charge of all the homicide investigators that respond countywide. And by the way, an important component to this, in our opinion, is any people that have information to offer our investigators about the circumstances surrounding any case. So we always make a plea for folks that have that saw things personally or heard things or maybe have video of things, etc. Give us a call and we'll have an investigator come out and talk to people. The reality is our bread and butter is talking to people, collecting and analyzing evidence. So to reach us, our telephone number is area code 323-890-5500. So that's 323-890-5500. It's very important that we talk to everybody who might have information surrounding this particular case, as it is with any deputy-involved shooting case.
Mayor, I do have a question. What timeline are you looking at in regards to the investigation?
It'll probably take us a few months to put it together. Typically, I'm looking at about 3 months or so to put a case together before it goes over to the DA's office. And again, that has to do with collecting evidence, talking to people, analyzing evidence, getting the coroner's report, which sometimes takes several weeks as well. So you shouldn't expect that to go to the DA's office earlier than about 90 days. And in that window, it depends on the complexities, et cetera. That's when it goes over to the DA's office. How long it takes them to review, that's an answer that the district attorney's office would be better prepared to answer.
In prior cases, do you have an idea as to how long it takes to get it resolved?
The criminal case, the administrative case, the case in its totality, or what?
Unfortunately, there's been various instances of shootings by officers. And so do you have an idea in terms of cases? Do they last a year? Are we talking about 2 years? Are we talking about, you said 3 months for your investigation or your portion of it?
I would say that on average, that answer is back to us with regard to the criminal aspects of it within that year. So it's 3 months for us to get it out to the DA's office, however long it takes the DA's office to look at it and give it back. Maybe that's an additional 3 months. Now you're 6 months into it at the conclusion of the criminal investigation. After that begins an administrative process that takes a few months after that. So, typically you see things happen between 6 months and a year or so. But again, I don't want to be held to fast and firm timelines because there's a lot of variables that may cause it to shift one way or the other.
Well, as an expert, I'm just taking it as an opinion, and an opinion is what I asked, obviously.
Right.
You have to take other evidence into account. Thank you.
But it is a timely process. And, I understand that when somebody wants justice, we want justice now. But it's a process, and it takes a lot of time. So thank you for, I may be calling on you again.
No problem. You're welcome.
Is there anybody else from the community that wants to come up and speak? Go ahead and come up.
Hello, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Bonnie Hernandez, and I'm here not to represent just Johnny, but I'm also here to represent my son, George Hernandez, and all the young men and boys that were needlessly killed because they were unarmed. Mainly I'm here, I know cops are under a lot of stress, and they may be scared for their life, and I understand that, but they have all the tools that they could use. There's dogs, there's beanbags, there's a mace, there's all kinds of things to use. And I understand that they may think that there's other people there, but when there's only one person and they're unarmed, why do they need to shoot them? Why should they be? I know in Johnny's case, I saw it on the news, there was like an arsenal, like they were trying to fight a war. And I understand that, maybe they didn't know how many people were involved, but when you see one person there, can't you take other measures besides just killing them? I mean, my son was shot 32 times, and he was actually shot at 50 times, and he was hit 32 times, and he did not have a weapon. He had 7 children, too. My whole family has been through hell. We went through the legal system. We got no recourse. But you know what? I pray every day that there's going to be justice. I don't care about the money. I just hope that it saves somebody else's life. And that the family doesn't have to go, you know, what my family's gone through, and I'm sure other families. We're not saying our families are perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has skeletons in the closet, but that doesn't give you the right to take a life. That's why we have a justice system. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Bonnie. I'm so sorry for your loss. Anybody else? And I know, of course, all of you are very concerned. That's why you're here. So whether you speak or not, I mean, we can see by the presence of people here that this is a very important issue to the community.
Hi, my name is Ren Anguiano. I've been born and raised all my life. You know, I walk the streets. I don't know, I guess sometimes I look like a perpetrator. I wear a bandana because I have psoriasis on my forehead, and many times I've been harassed. Recently in February, about a couple days before my mom's birthday, supposedly somebody had a gun in the neighborhood. The cop just said I was walking with a gun. I got a SWAT bunch of cars on me and everything. I was manhandled, bending my arms, twisting my fingers, and I'm like, look, I'm a diabetic. I'm on high blood pressure medicine. I'm on my way to the library, go look for work on the computer. You know, I'm not the right guy. Oh, well, a helicopter says that you have your gun. They harass me. They're practically breaking my hands, stepping on my feet. One citizen across the street, because it happened on Centralia and Saint Street, he had his video camera, stood a distance, like right where that mic, beyond the mic. And thank God he was there, because, you know, hey, I'm sorry, I'm constantly getting harassed by officers. I don't trust them anymore. I can't even walk that street safe being a citizen without them every time creeping up and like double checking, making it look like, you know, I fit some type of perk. You know, and it's not fair for me, and I know some other people, I've talked to many guys, were constantly getting harassed, and I don't even have tattoos, and they wear tattoos. They have more tattoos showing on them than I have tattoos on. And, you know, whoever, I don't know the psychology of how they're studying, observing people, they got to learn to teach them better psychology training or something, because enough's enough, you know. And thank God if that person wasn't videotaping, who's to say what they would have probably said, well, I would have tried to go for their gun, or I would have tried to attack them. And I told him, I go, you got 5 guys holding on against me. I'm a fat guy, I ain't running anywhere. You know, I mean, hey, I'm a big guy, what, you guys got guns, you think I'm going to try to run? And they just harassed me. Apparently, they never found the guy. But, you know, it's just a little thing that, you know, obviously someone's got to train these officers better on how to approach people, how to handle, and how to make sure they get the right guy, and quit harassing people walking down the street. Because on I've been harassed many occasions, like 2, 3, 4 times, just walking down the street, going to the library, going to Redbox, going to Walmart. And just to know, hey, my name is Orangano. Just ask my name. I'm walking to the street. I'm walking to the market. I'm walking home, walking to family house. You know, I don't have a vehicle. I walk. So, of course, you're going to see me walk around the whole neighborhood constantly. You know. And I know there's a lot of other people, too, that I see walk around, and I see them getting harassed and stuff, and it's not right. You know, obviously, they're going to stop and evaluate and say, hey, what are we doing wrong, and make sure you get the right guy, not some type of guy that, oh, because somebody says he has a gun, he has a gun. And doesn't mean manhandle a person practically, you know, try to break their fingers and wrists so they don't try to run away. You know, and like I said, I thank God. And the guy that ended up videotaping, you know, they took his camera, wouldn't give it back, and then they tried to first said he was going to get a jaywalking ticket, and then they charged him for obstruction. And he's like way over there. He's not even in the way, and, you know, and that's wrong, too. They shouldn't be finding people trying to give them citations for what? Because for taking pictures, monitoring, making sure that nothing goes wrong. Well, that's just all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. As you guys may or may not know, we have a new sheriff. Sheriff McDonald is our new sheriff. Sheriff Baca resigned, and the election brought in Sheriff McDonald. He's not able to be with us tonight, but his assistant, Sheriff Rothens, is here. And so if we can have Sheriff Rothens come up here. And just maybe you can speak to the training, some of the things that Sheriff McDonald has introduced since he's been sheriff.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for, first of all, hosting this evening and inviting us to be here, because it is important for us to hear from the community on how we're doing and to hear their concerns. So thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. You know, since the sheriff came on board, we instituted a few things, one of which is a critical incident review that takes a really quick look at the incident. That actually takes place tomorrow. The captain from Homicide Bureau talked about the criminal investigation, the ultimate internal investigation, and prior to this critical incident review, we really didn't take an internal look at it until it was sometime down. You heard what the captain had said. Sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes a year before some decision is made on the criminal portion as well as the administrative. And so very early on, we look at training, we look at tactics very early on, although it's preliminary because we don't have all of the information. The investigation isn't complete. But it does allow us to take a look at some of our practices and protocols and see if we can do something that would be better, that maybe would cause us to do something different in the future. And so that takes place within the first week. Again, that takes place tomorrow, so it's a little longer than, right about a little longer than a week. But that is one of the things that he has put into place so that we can react much quicker when an incident occurs.
Now, you have a sheriff union that you have to contend with. One of the people asked, well, why doesn't the officer just, why is the officer at a desk? Can you explain how, in working with unions, that you need to operate in certain ways regarding the employee, which is really what the officer is?
Well, certainly there's a deputy union, and because of that, there's certain MOAs, MOUs that are in place with the county, and there's certain laws that are in place in the state that in some ways protect police officers, their personnel records, and their right to certain investigations and a thorough investigation. And so because of that, somebody just can't be fired just because we believe that maybe something had gone wrong or we don't. An investigation has to take place. In this case, the first is the criminal investigation and then an administrative investigation. And so because of the laws that are in place and because of the regulations placed on us by the county and the MOU with a union, the officer remains on duty with pay until an investigation is completed.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
If I can ask, too, for OIG Max Huntsman. I believe Max is here, right? Is Max Huntsman here from OIG? Somebody else? Okay, you're from OIG. I am. Go ahead and come up to the mic and introduce yourself and explain your operation.
Thank you for the opportunity to come here. My name is Dan Baker. I'm the chief deputy. I spoke to you today on the phone. Mr. Huntsman was unable to come today. Let me tell you basically what we do at the Office of Inspector General. We're an oversight agency. All of the things that Mr. Rothens was talking about, the processes involved in the Sheriff's Department, we now come and we look at those processes, and what we're primarily interested in, for example, in investigations, is the investigation thorough? Is it conducted in a manner where all the facts will come forward? Is it conducted in such a fashion that all the information that they collect is accurate? Then we look at the processes of evaluation. For example, tomorrow in this case, we will be present at the critical incident review. We're more of a systemic type of, we're looking more at systemic issues, more at are they instituting reforms, policies, procedures, and practices that would prevent this from happening in the future. We do not get involved in the process of particularly prosecuting this case or any other case. That's left to the district attorney's office, who sends their Justice System Integrity Division lawyer and investigator out, and they do the criminal investigation. What we look at is the processes, and we're relatively new, to make sure that the investigations are done appropriately, and the sheriff institutes practices, policies, procedures to where if an event like this were to happen again, and well, I can't even say like this, but any incident, that the very best practices were followed to where that anything that is avoidable is avoided. So that's basically our role. And thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Can you explain how your reporting is different from internal affairs reporting?
Right. Well, what our reporting would be if we were to observe something in the process that was flawed, for example, some practice, some investigatory practice that for some reason, however it was followed, might not lead to the appropriate relevant information. Our role is to take a look at that and say, Sheriff's Department, this is a practice, this is an investigative procedure that wasn't followed, that should have been followed. Had it been followed, maybe there might have been a different or a more accurate result, and report that to the public, to the Board of Supervisors, and recommend that the practices, policies, procedures, whatever, be revised so that in the future, if something were missed, those types of items would not be missed.
I noticed that there's somebody in the audience. You have a question for Mr. Baker?
No, I want to make a comment.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Go ahead and make your comment.
Thank you. My name is Fran Wilson. I work with a group called Stop Mass Incarceration. And I just want to say, you can already tell that no justice is going to come from this process. And I just say, here are some facts. Over 1,000 people are killed every year by law enforcement. In the last 10 years, that would be more than 10,000 people. In the last 10 years, there have been less than 60 indictments for the killing of 10,000 people and less than 25 convictions. So that would be, if it's 1,000 people, that's 2 people a day, more than 2 people a day being killed by police. That's less than 2 people every year who ever do any time in jail. And if you remember, the killer of Oscar Grant served for a few months. So I'd like to say, these officers are killers. And these gentlemen are the supervisors and bosses and commanders of killers. And I think, like, if you look at Johnny's case, he was fixing his bicycle and enjoying some sandwiches. What? Minding his own business. But he's living in fear of this gang injunction, the purpose of which is to terrorize people and make them live in fear in these communities, that if you don't want to go to jail, you run, and then they shoot you down like you were an enemy in a war zone. And then, as the gentlemen have explained, the process of investigation through the system takes months and months and months, and then 99 times out of 100, it comes back justifiable homicide, which is another blow to the family, which is already sad and hurting. So I'd like to say to the people, the only time that there's been any justice has been when people have protested in the streets and continue to protest in the streets and demanded that the cops be indicted, convicted, and the killers go to jail. And that's what it's going to take in this case. I think that this process, and it happens every time, it takes months, and they wait until hoping that people forget, and then it's called justifiable homicide. And I think that, like, there's so many people in this country being killed by police now. We're living with the epidemic of police murder. That's why I say they're killers. And I've been looking into these same Lakewood police killed a mentally ill person 5 miles away in Lakewood he just was sitting in his car. He wasn't hurting anybody either. And it happens in Los Angeles. There was somebody on a skateboard near Wilshire Boulevard who supposedly hit the officers with his skateboard, but then an eyewitness said that wasn't true. He died. That's 6 people in 1 week killed either by LAPD or sheriffs, or maybe 7. And this is like 2 people a day. And so I would just like to say, don't be like pacified into like waiting and waiting for the investigations that are going to come out to nothing but justifiable homicide. When we have other people like Johnny living in all these communities in fear that they might go to jail, in fear of these gang injunctions, which that's the purpose of them, to terrorize people. We, the people, need to stand up and protest together. That's the only way that any justice is ever going to come, and the only way it ever has. So, thank you.
I know that it can be extremely frustrating for this process, and I know your statistics. I mean, there are lots of killings that happen, but we can't mix the killings of those that have done great crime and were stopped from taking other lives to be mixed in with those who have been taken that haven't been armed, like in Johnny's case. And I think those stats reflect both. So I think as a city government, we would be some kind of city council if we didn't provide some kind of public safety for the citizens or for the people of our community. All cities have to provide some kind of protection. And the protection that we have at our disposal is to contract with the sheriffs. There are other avenues, but somebody said to me the other day, well, the Hawaiian Gardens Police Department never killed anyone. Well, the Hawaiian Gardens Police Department lasted for a very, very short time before it was disbanded. We have been with the Lakewood Sheriffs for quite a long time, and it's not like we've had killings by officers or shootings by officers, I should say, every year. So I think, even though, and many of you have walked with me through the streets, last time I remember an audience this big was when I was leading a march. But look, even me, who is an activist and wants justice and wants fair, just, and righteous law enforcement, realizes that when I'm in trouble, I call a cop too. So I caution you to be over the top. This is definitely an issue that needs to be investigated, definitely. This is definitely something that is tragic and is hurtful and super painful. And it has affected our community terribly. But we have to be realistic and realize that this is not an incident in Hawaiian Gardens that's happening every day. This is something that happened. It's tragic. It needs to be investigated. And that's what we're trying to do. And we want you to know as a city council that we're interested in a thorough investigation. And that's what we're trying to do. You have a comment?
Yes. My name is Antoinette Anguiano. First of all, I'd like to say I'm sorry to the Andersons for the loss of their brother and son, uncle, friend, neighbor. And secondly, I'd like to bring to the attention that I lived in Hawaiian Gardens for many of years. I grew up here. My family's been here for many years also. And I'd like to say that it has recently, I've seen a lot of changes, and it seems like with the police, since the incident that the individual that shot the officer prior, ever since that, there has been a shoot first, ask questions later. That's what it seems like what's happening in our little city. Our city has grown quite a bit. It's turned into a beautiful city. But now with this, what's been happening lately, it's caused a lot of friction and everything. And I feel the officers should kind of be a little bit, get to know people, get to know. There's a lot of people here that are really good. As a matter of fact, a few employees have spoken with me, and they've said they've been harassed, questioned by officers, and their employees pulled over a few times, and I think it's just a little unjust. They've got to learn to be fair and get to know a lot of us, because there are a lot of people, good people here. They say they want to do good for us, then get to know us. Don't come up to us, don't, talk to us. Don't make comments about us, don't put us down, don't make us think we're just like the other individual that killed the police officer. Technically speaking, from what I was told, he was not in a gang. He had no involvement with a gang. But yet, all of a sudden, they started chasing a lot of Hispanics and some of the people that I grew up with out of the city because of what this individual did, what he had caused. For what he did, everybody else was taking the blame, and I feel we still are. So I think we just got to get to know us. We're good people here. We're not all that bad. And I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Carlos Mejia, and I'm here also with the Anderson family. Johnny is, and will always be, my son's uncle. And I just wanted to tell you what I told you the other day on Sunday about, I work for a large corporation, and we're nationwide. I'm a rail yard supervisor, and I have control of 6 rail yards throughout Orange County and LA County. And as you know, these officers do patrol Paramount. And what happened in my incident, and this is how I know that they have it in for the people of the community of Hawaiian Gardens. I was pulled out at gunpoint in one of my rail yards. And I was accused of stealing metal right behind the police station, right off Jackson and Paramount Boulevard. Okay? They went in there without permission because it's private property. And there was, like you said, there's a process to that, file a report. I filed a report, and I have 2 letters here. One of them stating, thank you for filing a report, we will investigate. And all I got was a phone call from somebody saying how sorry they were for what happened to me. And there's that letter for that. So I did the process that you talked about, filing reports and all that, and they didn't do anything about it. This is how I know they have it in for people, for the community of Hawaiian Gardens. When they pulled me out at gunpoint and asked me what I was doing there, I gladly gave my business card where it stated that I am a rail yard supervisor, and I had I could be there without their permission because it's our property. One. Well, when they asked me for my driver's license, I gave them my license. And when they realized that I lived in Hawaiian Gardens, that's when I went from being a rail yard supervisor to a homie. And that's what they call me. So you're from HG, homie? I said, I live in the city of Hawaiian Gardens. Why? Because I look like this? Because I'm bald? You know? And because my license says I'm a resident of Hawaiian Gardens, I got to be mistreated? I was handcuffed immediately, put in back of a cop car. I had a sweater on, I had a beanie on, and they had the heater on. The verbal abuse started when they started walking up to me, opening the door, saying, hey, you're going to go down for a long time, homie. We caught you. And I said, I have nothing to worry about. I'm not doing anything wrong. All I got was a letter of an apology, a phone call as an apology, and that was the investigation. So now you see how they have it in for the people from Hawaiian Gardens, because even in another city, this happened, and when they realized that I was a citizen of Hawaiian Gardens, all the harassment started. But they never read my card that said I was a rail yard supervisor and that my office is in Buena Park. And nobody did anything about it. So, as a citizen of Hawaiian Gardens, I'm asking you, what are you going to do, Mayor, to have these people stop harassing us, even in different cities when we're just trying to do our job? What are you going to do? What are your councilmen going to do for us? We pay their salary. We're taxpayers here. You know? And it's a shame because little do they know, they don't know who I am, just like this lady just said. Why don't you get to know us? Little do they know that on my time off, after I go work 10, 11 hours a day, I start my job at 5 o'clock and I get home at 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And what they don't know is that I volunteer to go work at Detox and help people recover in recovery. I am an addict myself. I am an alcoholic, and I love to work with alcoholics and addicts, and I give everything I got to helping people learn how to live their life. I could have been shot that day. When they called me, they said the officer was having a bad night because this happened about at 5:45 in the morning. They impounded a company truck just because it was Illinois trucks, and all my paperwork that I had for them, I gave it to them, and they said the VIN number doesn't match the paperwork. Then why didn't they arrest me for having false paperwork? My company had to pay for that card to get impounded. Oh, and in the process of that, because they would not let me take anything out of my trucks, my son had just bought me a pair of Oakleys, and they were stolen. Of course, I was the truck drivers. I don't believe it was the officers. So I want to know, what are you going to do for our community, Mayor? You know, and another thing, they're saying that it takes this long for an investigation. I'll tell you what, if they charge me with the crime in a month, I mean, that and I'll be in prison. So what I want to know is, what's the holdup? What's the holdup? If it's one of your officers down, you guys investigate people and arrest people like this right away. You indict them and they're in prison right away. I'm not saying any of these officers are at fault. I don't know, it could be one of them. I don't know. I was not there. I didn't see it. But you talk about that we have to pay somebody to protect us. Who's going to protect us from them? While he's sitting in a desk and the Andersons are suffering, and my son's asking me, son, he's saying, Dad, why does it feel like all of Mommy's family is going away? My son has dealt in the past 8 years with 3 of his family members going, his mother, his grandmother, and now his uncle. How do I talk to a 16-year-old and tell him, do I tell him this is God's will? Because you know what? God would not do this to us. It's because they run on self-will. Thank you.
Carlos, excellent speaker. This is why I became a city council member. Exactly what you're saying right now. And I know it's true. All right? I know it's true. Not with all officers. I've learned that. It's not all officers, but there are many officers that do that. My son was treated like that when he went to Magic Mountain with a youth group one time because he was from Hawaiian Gardens. My daughter, mind you, this was after I was a council member. My daughter was treated horribly, handcuffed, held for 45 minutes, the back seat of a car. And we got a letter after we filed all of our reports. Council member, mind you. The officer was justified because of the call. So I investigated the call. I could do that because I was a council member. It was completely junk. It was junk. We did not pursue that because my daughter was just so upset. But it was prejudicial, absolutely, positively prejudicial. My son was absolutely, positively prejudicial. Your situation sounds absolutely, positively prejudicial. We have had that. We have seen that. I know that's true. I'm not going to sit here and whitewash that. It's an ugly, ugly thing. And quite honestly, I want to tell you, when 22 plus officers were indicted at Men's Central Jail, I rejoiced. I still rejoice. I want people like that off the force. I want people like that arrested. I want people like that to do jail time. Amen. I do. But we have to allow the process to go through the long-winded process that it goes through. And all that I can really do as a mayor, or all we can even do as a council, or all our city manager can do, honestly, is to make sure that all the avenues at our disposal are contacted for a fair, or what is the most fair investigation. That's really all we can do. And yeah, I know it sounds terrible. Oh, well, I filled out this form and I got an apology letter because the officer had a bad day. And I know that's true. You brought your letters. I'm sure that's exactly what they say, something to that effect. The letters that I got were infuriating. And justice was not done in those cases. We should be holding our police officers to a much higher standard because that's their job. And if they don't like that higher standard, they shouldn't have that job. So I still feel strongly that way. I also know that being a police officer would be a job that I would not want for anything. I would not want to be an officer. It's a hard job. But we got to call things what they are. We got to call them out. Protesting peaceably, coming to city council peaceably, doing what you're doing tonight. This is the very best thing that you can do. Filing a complaint when you are treated badly to file a complaint. And I know you think, well, that complaint means nothing because I get this thing back that means nothing. Sheriff Baca would have never been here in Hawaiian Gardens if it wasn't for the 65 documented cases that we provided him with. He would have never come. There were changes on the gang injunction. I'm not satisfied with all that was changed, but there were changes made on the gang injunction. You'll remember Captain Christy Gajevich saying that it's permanent, it's forever, it's never going away. Well, now you can get off the gang injunction. There are many other things that changed, 11 items, I believe, in total. And we've removed, I believe it's 11 people from the gang injunction in the city of Hawaiian Gardens. So we've been making a little bit of progress. And by the way, we did get a brand new sheriff. That's good news. Tanaka has been indicted. That's good news. In Bend Central Jail, just recently, 2 people turned and finked out some other officers. That's good news. The pressure is on, but we can't just lump every single officer into one big heap and say they're all prejudiced, they all hate us. But I do know the prejudice exists, and I do know it's real, and I've experienced it in my own family. And you know, honestly, the city is my family. And it really hurts to see that. So we're continuing to work to do the best possible investigation that we can do. I'd like to ask Captain Keith Swinson of the Lakewood Sheriff's Department to come up and address the issue of this deputy's pay. Some of you seem to think that Hawaiian Gardens is still paying for him in his employment at the desk. And so I'd like for you to address that, Captain. I'd like for you to address also what you're doing or what you have done to try to combat prejudicial type of remarks and things like Carlos explained. As a captain, can you address this, please?
Thank you, Mayor Bruce. And first of all, I'd just like to apologize to the family for your loss. I feel for your loss. It's horrible to lose somebody in your family like that, and I'm very sorry for that. Mayor Bruce, as we discussed before, I grew up in this community. I went to school with a lot of people that live here in Hawaiian Gardens, and I personally feel attached to this community. And when I first came to Lakewood Station, we had long conversations about both of our wants to have a better connection between law enforcement and Hawaiian Gardens. And I feel that we're trying to get there and that we're working together to do so. In regards to pay, basically the way that the contract works with the Sheriff's Department is the City of Hawaiian Gardens pays for minutes. They don't pay for specific deputies except for the special assignment officers that you see that work here dedicated to the Hawaiian Gardens. So when somebody is taken out of the field and put onto the desk, the City of Hawaiian Gardens is no longer billed for that deputy whatsoever. Somebody else comes in their place. And basically the Sheriff's Department uses that on the back end, and we reassign them to a different assignment that has nothing to do with the pay for Hawaiian Gardens. So from the date of that incident, the City of Hawaiian Gardens no longer paid for that deputy that was involved in the incident. In regards to the process, the gentleman that had an issue and filed a complaint, and some of the things that you said, Mayor Bruce, you know, the Sheriff's Department has no tolerance for people who cut corners or deputies who are dishonest. If you look at the changes that we've made just in the short period of time since Sheriff Jim McDonald has come around, it's absolutely amazing. And it's something that with 30 years on the Sheriff's Department, I'm very proud of, because I want all of my deputies to be the most trustworthy people that can work for a community like yours. And I want your families and your friends and your children to be able to come to our deputies and be proud because we all work for you. The complaint process is not a perfect one, but it's an important process. If you have a problem with the deputy, you need to give us a call, and we investigate that thoroughly. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't come to the conclusion that the public wants. And sometimes we don't find out the perfect facts because it's not a perfect system. But it is important that you file the complaints, and all those complaints, even if they are unfounded, are permanent records. And that kind of gives me as a manager an understanding that if I have a deputy who has several unfounded complaints of a certain type, maybe it's an indication that I need to sway my opinion more towards the public than that peace officer. Surprisingly, when it comes to contacts with the public, it's literally 1 out of 1,000 contacts with the public that are negative. Deputies come in contact with hundreds of people every day, and most of them are extremely positive. Some deputies will go through their entire career without a complaint. What we hear about in the press is the negative things, and there's a purpose for that. And I could tell you, I really think that the Sheriff's Department is getting better at investigations. And I think that when it comes to trustworthiness with Sheriff Jim McDonald, we're really moving forward and being a preeminent law enforcement agency.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Any other speakers?
My name is Manuel Trevino. I just want to thank everybody who was there on the walk. I just want to thank them all for being there for my brother-in-law, Johnny. If any of you guys knew Johnny, all you ever seen was a big old Colgate smile. He was a good man. He wasn't somebody like these guys should have pulled out their gun and shot. All this jumping fences and running from cops and all that, I'm pretty sure most of us lived our whole life doing that. And at times, maybe some of us were wrong. I could admit that I was wrong at times. But luckily, I never got shot. I remember they chased me and tell me they were going to shoot me, but I didn't care. You could shoot me, you can do whatever you want, but you weren't going to hurt me. There was no way you were going to hurt me. There's so many people in this city, talk about justice. Yeah, and there's some of us, we know that there's not going to be justice. There's not going to be justice. Me, myself, I've been to prison and all that stuff, and I've been to jail for something I didn't do before, and it was kind of funny. And still to this day, I still live with that, man. That shows you how justice is. I'll never forget that. In '84, man, they put me in jail for something I didn't even do, and I still to this day, I still live with that. So I know dang well there's not going to be justice for my brother-in-law. And if there is, that's great. Everybody wants this officer to get fired. Yeah, I do. I definitely do. Definitely want him to be fired. I definitely want him to go to prison because I'd be sitting in prison right now, even though I do have a record. That shouldn't mean anything, they're no better than me. Oh yeah, you got a badge, you can get away with it. You guys can do what you want to do. You can hurt people, you can take our families. You can take us to Artesia, drop us off there in our rival neighborhood. But I remember when you guys used to do that to me, man, I used to laugh at you guys because I used to just walk right out of that neighborhood and say, you guys are fools. You ain't hurting me. You know who you were hurting? My mother. My mother thought I was going to be killed a few times from them dropping me off in Artesia. I remember I used to come home and tell her, hey, you know what they did to me? And she would just look at me and go, man, mijo, don't go out there. Don't let them do that to you. I says, what do you mean don't let them do that to me? I don't have no choice once they put me in the back seat of that cop car. I don't have no choice. But it's okay because I don't worry about it. I'm not as scared of them or any law officer in this world. You guys are not always going to get away with things. You guys are going to pay for what you did to my brother-in-law. One way or the other. You're going to be paid. You're going to get paid for it. And it's not going to be violently. It's not going to be a violent thing either. You guys are going to pay. It's going to be on paper. We're going to do it the right way. We're not going to go out there and try to shoot at you. No, that's not the right way. We want to get you so that you'll see that us people who look like you guys always look at us, we're gang members. Yeah, I got tattoos. Hell yeah, I got tattoos. And I am from Hawaiian Gardens. I love my hood. You know what I'm saying? I do love my neighborhood. But I'm not active. But you know what? Always remember when you see me walk down the street, I'm not active. I got a family. I'm a family man. I work at a rehab. I talk to people. I try to get them not to do things that I used to do when I was a kid. Just that way, so that way they don't have to be out there nowadays and worry about things like, you know, when I was a kid, I used to worry about, man, I used to think, man, I'm going to get killed by a cop someday. Or, matter of fact, I'm going to get killed by our teacher because they're going to drop me off over there. I'm going to get killed because they dropped me off. But that was okay. Now, you guys got to remember something, man. We are human. We do got tattoos. We do things that we shouldn't do. But you know what? You don't realize in the long run, we do pay for it, not because you guys make us pay for it. But deep down in our hearts, we know we've done wrong. And we're going to have to live with that. But that's okay. That's okay, because you know what? It takes a real man to stand up and say, I'm wrong. And I've done that plenty of times. I've looked in the mirror and said, it wasn't that officer's fault that took me to jail. It was my fault. It was my fault. You know, but you guys got to start, man, realizing that, you know, we are human, man. And don't look at our tattoos. Don't look at my face because I look crazy. Don't think I'm going to rush you and jump you and whip your ass. Excuse my language. Because that can easily be done, just like you do to us. But what good is that going to do? Nothing. I'm going to go to jail, not pass go, not collect my $200 till I get out. You guys got to stop, man. Stop. Look at everybody here. All these people that are here today, man, do they look bad to you? Yeah, they do. Don't say they don't. Don't say they don't, because you're only slapping yourself in the face. Right now, you're probably going to be going, oh, he's a gang member. He's got tattoos. Oh, man. Oh, God. I know I don't scare you. You got a gun. You can kill me just like you did my brother-in-law. So come on, guys. You guys got to do something, man. Somebody. I know you, the committee here, you can do what you got to do. That's all there is to it. Just help us out. That's all we ask. Keep these cops from hurting our people. Keep them from I got nephews and nieces that they get, man, and they harass them. They're skateboarders. They come to me, hey, uncle, that cop pulled me over, put me in the back seat of his cop car. I'm a skateboarder. I'm laughing at him, telling him, you know what, just cooperate. Sit in the back seat, laugh at him, and say, you ain't got nothing on me. I'm good. Let him do his job. Just don't say nothing to him, because he will take you to another neighborhood and probably drop you off. So just go with it, man. Go with it. But like I said, justice is going to be done for Johnny. Yeah, you better believe it is. It's going to be done. And we're not done picking at Lakewood. Hope you guys know I was there the other day, and I'm going back. I might be there tonight. I might be there tomorrow. But I am going, and he's going to go to jail. I don't care what any of you say. He's got to go to jail. Thank you, guys.
Hello. My name is Lawrence Provost. I've lived here my whole entire life. I know majority of these people over here, and you know majority of these people over here. A lot has been done, and a lot of the points that these people made today, they're good, you know? They should all be brought up again, talked about, just further looked into, you know? Everybody in here has a voice, and your job is to basically voice us. You're the voice of the community. It'd be nice if we got heard every once in a while. Like I said, I'm born and raised here. My mom is born and raised here. She was born in a house on Arlene. She got beat up by police officers in the 60s and 70s. She got a lot done to her, you know. I've been picked on by these guys growing up. 16, same thing. I'm going to send you to Artesia. Like, I have long hair. Anybody who knows me, I've always had long hair. I'm the little Indian boy that grew up here. Tall, lanky kid. And I'm getting told I'm going to be sent to Artesia. For what? Things need to be done, and it would be nice to see them get done. Johnny was a great friend, brother, dad, whatever. I just came up here to say, these people are making great points. And it'd be nice to see something get done. Thank you.
I'm gonna speak a little bit more. My name's Pastor Manny. I have a church here in Livermore, Lakewood, and a lot of these people behind me are members of my congregation. When I came out here about 2 years ago, and I was in Anaheim, my wife and I prayed. And I asked God to help guide me to a place that they have hurting hearts, people that need help, people that are suffering and have no hope or they have no direction in life. And when my wife came out here, me and my wife came out here 2 years ago, it was my wife and I and 2 other people. So it was a total of 4 people that came out to Hawaiian Gardens, a little building out there. And as I was out there, I remember that first year, I was trying to put together something for Christmas to invite the community out there. And it was just my wife and I putting together something for Christmas, and I see this one skinny guy walk through the gates. And he was coming there for cosmetics. And I looked at him, I said, yeah, can I help you? And he says, yeah, I hear you have cosmetics. I said, sure do, come on in. And he said, can I get an extra one? I said, yes, get an extra one. And on the way out, he said, Pastor. I said, yes. He said, do you need a little help? I said, I do need a little help. I'm here by myself. And I find out that the one who wanted to help me for 2 hours was this guy, Johnny, that helped me set up the whole parking lots so the community and the kids can come in. So now we went from 2 people to 100 people in 2 years. And Pastor, Mayor, we went from 2 people to 100 people in 2 years because there's a lot of pain, a lot of hurts, a lot of loneliness, a lot of detachments that needs restoration in this city. You have a willing vessel here to help you and unite this community any which way possible. I'm not afraid of going anywhere because I understand everybody here. I reach out to everybody and anybody. I invite anybody inside. You have a willing vessel here, Pastor, to start getting this community together, united as one. And evil is victorious when good men fail to act. Good men fail to act, evil is victorious. You have great men here that are willing to help the community. My thing is, what are you going to do now? You have a pastor here that's willing to go into the community and reach out to the people that are lost and bring the gang members together and start healing the families, bringing restoration to them, healing their hearts, taking away that anger, that burden that they have inside of them. And it's that same burden and anger that people go out and use drugs and become alcoholics and drug addicts because they're holding it down so much, now they end up in the streets lost. Now it's our duty as pastors, as civil servants, to go help them and bring some of that anger out and start alleviate some of those problems that we're having in Hawaiian Gardens. If we can just start acting on it as good men and bringing the community together, Pastor. And I approach you that as pastor and as mayor in front of the city council right now that we need to do something about it, you and I, to start bringing this community together and start helping this community because you got a willing vessel here to do it. Amen.
So, Pastor Manny, I don't know if you went to our prayer breakfast that we had recently, or if you realize that we have a meeting first Tuesday of every month, pastor's meeting, and I'd be more than happy to invite you to that. You're not the only pastor in Hawaiian Gardens that has a burden for people, or that is unafraid to go anywhere and share and speak. There are quite a few, as a matter of fact. I'm one of them. I've been here for 33 years. And most of the people here have been touched in some way by the Way Out ministries in their life, either in their childhood or their kids are even involved in that ministry. So there are ministries here. And there are people that have grown up here as well that continue to reach this city. So, I encourage you and other pastors to come to that meeting, and we can give you the exact dates and times, and would encourage that. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Mayor, I would like to say a few comments, if I may. First of all, to Pastor Manny, I know that as a believer in God, if you touch one person, it's winning a major battle for God. So whatever you can do, it would be greatly appreciated, particularly with all the pain and suffering that we do suffer in this world. I'm a believer in the United States of America. I believe that officers are there to protect us. And I know that in my school, an officer, because of all these shootings that have been going on in schools, said he has not shot somebody in 42 years. That's his greatest achievement. The worst day for an officer is when he shoots somebody. I take his word seriously. I know, unfortunately, that this happened, and I blame the gang injunction when I saw that he was running from it. I know that it has caused a lot of fear in our city. It has hurt a lot of many people's lives, but growing in Hawaiian Gardens, we know how it is. I've been a resident since 1980. I've gone through all the school systems, and I know that in Hawaiian Gardens, even if you don't know me personally, you know my face. You've seen me around, or you've seen my family, or we know each other's families. So Lawrence, I know he left, but he used to be my neighbor in my street, so I know him in regards to he knows people around me. This is a great tragedy, but at the same time, I'm not hopeless. I'm not going to say that because of all these injustices, there's no justice that can be done now, or there's no justice that can be done in the future. I know that the officers that are here in our city are doing their best to serve us as I perceive it. I know that the gentlemen and people that have come up here have different stories, have stories that are negative and have been impacted negatively. And my worry is not for them because they're adults. I'm an adult. I made my choices. My main worry is for the children in the audience. They're listening to us. They're seeing your reactions to the officers. They're seeing what is happening in our city. And I know growing up, now I know officers, but growing up, officers were not my best friends. As a good girl as I was, going to school and doing all the things, the right things that supposedly are supposed to be done. And I know that has changed, but I'm worried for the children that because of this, a new perception of negativity will continue to grow in our city, and I do not want that. What can be done? Give us some time to figure something out. Immediately, we can, as a city, develop some sort of a complaint system that could be sent to every single resident in our community so they are aware of it. And just know that, personally, I can't speak for my fellow council members. I'm sure they'll say something to you. But I believe in justice. I believe, like what the gentleman said, we aren't all perfect. We all make mistakes. We try to do the right thing. But at the same time, we need to be forgiven, and we need to forgive ourselves. So I am really sorry for your loss. I did go to the march. I got there late because I was in San Diego. But we are a tight-knit community, and as a tight-knit community, we need to work together with the officers taking care of us, because no one has mentioned, but it must have been frightening for those individuals that were in their houses, in whose houses your family member was trying to get into. You know, it's two sides of the story. So it was just a horrible incident. I apologize for everything that has happened to you because we see it in the news. I know I had a tragic incident in my family, but when it happens to you, there's like no way out. And I'm sorry to the sister who's here, because instead of mourning your brother, you're here dealing with us and trying to get justice for your brother, which is not okay. But I'm glad you're here, and I see all the people that are here that even though they haven't spoken, your presence says a lot. Your presence says that you're in the community and that you need something to be done. So as your council member, I will support in what needs to be done so that the perception of justice and what our officers are trying to do gets done in an appropriate way, that they're here to protect us. And it's a job that I've seen that they're trying to do.
Anybody?
I just like to say that I have lived here in the city of Hawaiian Islands for over 60 years. I've seen many changes since I grew up. I grew up here as a kid, teenager, and a young adult. And the officers that we had in those days were completely different than what they are today. They were very courteous. If we did something wrong, of course, we admitted it, and they would send us home, or I mean, it was completely different. And during the gang injunction, when there was many of our young kids who were caught in the net and were being given the gang injunction papers to sign, some of these kids didn't know anything about what it was all about. And so when they started complaining, Mayor Bruce, of course, he was very instrumental in getting 11 youths out of the gang injunction, which they would, like he said, they said nobody will ever get out of it. We had a lot of people, young people, who were going to work, who had a job, and maybe because they were going to work during the graveyard shift or something, they were stopped, and they were just given a gang injunction papers, and in order to, some of them did manage to get out of that, but they ended up paying up to $10,000 in fees, legal fees. So the only thing that I can say is, some of you who are getting harassed by there, because there is certain police officers there are, they're not as what I say is like they said that we, being Hawaiian Gardens, where the officer was shot, we're automatically all gang members. We had incidents where they went into people's homes, raided people's homes, where there were elderly people living there, and they got them at gunpoint, threw them outside, and we're talking about 70, 80-year-old residents who at gunpoint were thrown in the back, and their houses were ransacked by the officers. I mean, this has been going on, but it has changed also. And if you feel that you're being harassed or have been harassed, let's file the complaint. Bring it to us. Bring it to. I know Mayor Berry has taken complaints down to the sheriff's station in person, so they can't say they never got them, because that was one of the issues we had. We had filed at one time, there was probably over 30 complaints, and our ex-captain that was there, she said she never received any. I think there was only 2 that she said she received at that time, and we knew they had sent more than that. So we can take the complaints down to the sheriff's station, Lakewood. So if you get harassed or something, bring them in. Don't be afraid. Bring in the complaints, and like our captain said, when they see an officer that has complaints against them, I think they're going to begin to look at him a little more closely. So just bring us the complaints, and we'll take them in personally into the sheriff's station. Make sure they're filed. Make sure they're looked at. Make sure they give us an answer on them.
Obviously, this is a tragedy that nobody wishes on anyone. So we're all sorry for the loss of the family and friends. Just this week, I was reading an article about the city of Cincinnati, and it was about how in the early 2000s they were having issues with the law enforcement agency there, and there was a group claiming injustices, just like we're hearing tonight. What they did was they had a chief of police who came in and said he wanted to start a community policing program, and he created a system where they would have regular meetings with members of the community and people from the law enforcement and talk about what's going on in the community. And of course, at first, it was a lot of accusations and throwing blame and stuff like that. But eventually, they got to realize that they both wanted the same thing, and I think that's what we should understand here. We all want the same thing, and they managed to create a program where they actually worked together. Leaders of the protests and the law enforcement, they worked together to make changes, to bring make the community feel like law enforcement was there to protect them and not to harass them. And I think that's something that we should look towards doing. I mean, and maybe for Johnny, we could look for creating some kind of program like that where we can have a community police program that works together. And we actually have an opportunity that people aren't taking advantage of that could be a start of it. And I don't mean that could be the program, but we do have regular monthly neighborhood watch programs where our sergeant and our special assignment officers meet at either at the safety center and the different school sites in the community on the first Wednesday every month with the community there, and the deputies come prepared to talk about safety, but they're there but they also open the floor for anybody who has questions, anybody has complaints. They talk about how they can solve their problems or what they can do to solve the problems. But the biggest thing is people come and get to know the deputies, and the deputies get to know them, and you start to get a familiarizing with relationship. And I think this is something that the community is really missing the point on, because unfortunately, what's happened is most of the time you have the same 8 or 10 people there, and this is something where we should have a large portion of the community come, and that's why they move it to different locations, to school sites. They've had it at a church site, just so we could reach the community. And I think it's an opportunity for people to, again, to speak with the deputies and, tell them your concerns. It was really sad that, a couple of times I've had people tell me that they don't go because they don't want their neighbors to know that they're going, because they're afraid they're going to call them snitches. And so, I mean, that's a really sad thing, because we really need the community to work together. The deputies tell us there at the meetings that they need us to help them help us, more than we need them. And what they mean is the community, we see what's going on. The law enforcement can't be everywhere. And if there's something happening in your community, we can let the deputies know. We can do things to make our community safer, and hopefully, by doing those type of things, this type of incident wouldn't happen again. So, I think that we should think about that as a city council of seeing what we can do in that vein. Just to create some kind of venue where the law enforcement and the community can meet on a regular basis and develop this type of relationship of trust. And going forward, hopefully, we see each other as friends and not the enemy. Thank you.
Can I speak? Yeah, you want to speak at the podium? Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Benny Anderson. Johnny is my brother. This is my little nephew. Go ahead and state your name.
Hi, my name is Gabriel, and Johnny is my uncle. As you can see, I was really reluctant to speak. I'm very nervous.
I'm in fear to come up here and speak for my brother. But you know what? I sat there and I prayed and I asked God to give me the strength and the courage to come up and speak for him. And I just want to ask them why they killed my brother, man. I want to ask you guys, I know none of you guys did it. You ain't here. I don't have a brother no more, man. He was unarmed. He didn't have a shirt on. He was scared, just like I am. Just like I am. I'm scared, man. Because I know once I leave here, there ain't gonna. Once I leave it, I'm like I'm a target, man. But you know what? At the end, they have to answer to somebody, and that's God. You know, whoever did this to my brother, man. You know, I got that call at 1:30 in the morning. You know, I see it on TV, and I say, man, that's messed up. Just like a couple of months ago, I seen an officer. It got caught on video in North Carolina or somewhere. The guy was running, and I just seen the officer shooting him and shooting him and shooting him. And then he ran over there and did something, and he got caught, you know, because he got caught on camera, you know. You know, and then when I got the confirmation that it was my little brother, I had to break it to my sister, and my brother-in-law, my nephew. Did he deserve to die? You guys, when you guys see him in your office, ask him, did he deserve to die? Really? No, I'm hurt. I'm still grieving. You know, all this is gonna take a year. The last time I went to jail, 9 days. I was in Delano, 9 days. It took for your justice, for me, 9 days. 9 days. Excuse me, sorry. And I know you guys are doing your best, man, and I thank you. But now I'm scared. Once I leave this building, I'm scared, man. I ain't gonna run. I've been clean 5 years, man. You know, I got 28 years in and out of the penitentiary, YA, juvenile hall. I'm not scared. You can test me. You can do whatever. I don't care. But I'm scared. You know, my brother was scared that night. You know, I went over there and seen his sandwich, you know, with the bite missing out of it, man. I can't get that out of my mind. My little brother, man, he's gone. Man, it hurts so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Benny. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Veronica Hernandez, and this has been a complete nightmare. I went through the same thing 16 years ago with my brother, and I knew Johnny. I knew his mother. And this is terrible that this type of thing has had to happen to him. My face shows the pain that has caused my family, his kids, and everybody. It has messed our whole family up. Heartache, psychological damage. It's made life terrible for his sons. He had 7 kids also. And this family, I'm proud of them for supporting everybody out here because that's what needs to be done. It's a very hard thing. And I hope justice is done for him. Thank you.
Thank you. Like Benny, I have to encourage you all to stand up and to speak out. I don't know where you've all been for all these years. You haven't been here. You haven't been in this council chamber. It's been empty. We've been conducting meetings here, and the community's not here. You're not here. I don't know where your votes are. I don't know how many of you are registered to vote. But look, you're the community. Lawrence said, I wish you'd hear us. Well, we're here every second week. You can speak freely every second week. You can be on cable television, and people in the community can hear you speak every second week. When the police treat you prejudicially, or when you feel singled out or harassed, you can fill out a complaint again and again and again and again. Now, I know, like Benny, it's scary. Here you have some people. Here you feel like your voice is being heard, and yeah, you could get harassed. And I'm sorry. But you know, right, whether knees are trembling and voice is quivering, you still need to speak out. You just got to do it, because that's the only way changes happen. That's it. And look, I've known a lot of good police officers, and I've known some great police officers. And one of my friends who was a police officer, he retired as a lieutenant, and his greatest joy, he said, was in his 40-some years of being an officer, he never had to shoot anybody. So I know that that's the worst day for some officers. The worst day when they hurt or kill someone. But others, as we know, are less affected. And look, I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm just being honest. I'm not a hater. I don't hate law enforcement. But there are some people that should not be law enforcement officers. And this investigation needs to happen. Other investigations need to happen. And people need to speak up. This has been an excellent forum. You guys have been excellent people, concerned community members who have done a wonderful job speaking your hearts without encouraging violence, without profanity. Almost perfect. But I mean, the emotions here are raw. This is terrible. This is a tragedy. I mean, you've done exceedingly well. I'm proud of my community tonight. I really am. We need to be honest with our problem. We need to be honest about the problem we have in our streets that even exists sometimes in our families and their choices. And we need to be honest about the problems that we have in law enforcement and that exist in that family as well. We just have to be honest. So I can promise you that I can do everything according to my power. But that's all that I can promise you. And I have to say that as a human being, my power is limited. Each and every one of these council members' power is limited. And the good officers, the good law enforcement, their power too is limited. OIG is limited. We all have limitations. But I can assure you that we will do the very best that we are capable of doing to make sure that this gets a just investigation. And I would encourage you guys, in the meantime, to not be afraid to fill out complaints. Even though you feel like they're going nowhere, they are going into the file, as Captain Swenson said. They do go into the file. I know that's a fact. They do go into the file. Come to city council meetings and be an active member of your community. There's an election coming up. If you're not registered, there's registration slips right here at the front desk. Fill them out. Get registered. And vote. Vote for your elected officials. This is the best that you can do. That's the best that our system affords right now. And so I encourage you to do it. Be active. Be active. And thank you again for your time. Thank you again for sharing your hearts, and thank you for doing it so well. We're going to go ahead and take a recess.
Before we go, I'd like to actually address, I was the one individual that wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Johnny's brother came up, so I just wanted to take this opportunity, as my colleagues have, to express my sincere condolences, first of all, to Johnny's sister and brother, his family members, and obviously all the friends that are here today. Obviously, you guys care deeply about Johnny. This is a very tragic incident that has impacted our community we call home. You know, we're a very small community. As a lot of us know, we've grown up here. I've been a lifelong resident. I've seen changes. But when things like this happen, when the media exposes things, it impacts us all. You know, we have to talk about it. And I'm very thankful that the pastor came out here today, and he wants to help. And we want to encourage him to work with the community and to help heal the process. It's going to be a long process, but we are here, and as my colleague said, we'll do our best to work with you in that healing process. In addition to that, we need to work together. We say that, you know, the sheriff's department doesn't know the residents, and that's a huge, you know, concern of ours. And so we asked if we could somehow come together and maybe through this become a better community that knows one another and doesn't have to go through these injustice that occurs. So I know for a lot of you it's difficult to come up and speak, but we're glad that you're here, that you took the opportunity to speak on Johnny's behalf so that he's remembered and this will never be forgotten. So thank you, everyone.
Mayor, I'd like to also say something. Just to Johnny's brother, my condolences as well, but I just wanted to cite that what a great example to your son in coming up here and saying that you prayed before you came up here, and in spite of your fear, you still came and said what you needed to say and say your piece. And to say that even though in whatever we're facing, it may seem very bleak, but there is a greater power than us. I mean, we can promise, or I can promise whatever I can, but the person that really takes care of us, in my belief, and it seems in yours, is God. So we just need to entrust to Him. Johnny, that's now gone, but your life and whatever comes before us. Thank you.
Yeah, if we can I offer up a short prayer before we take a short recess? Lord, we come before you, and I know Johnny. I know that he believed in you. I know that he had struggles, but I know that he had faith in you. I know he believed in you. And I know, Lord, that he is in a much better place. We are in a bad place. He is in a much better place. So, Lord, bring comfort and bring peace where there seems to be just nothing but despair and sickness. Bring peace to at least to our hearts to know that Johnny is in your presence with you. May that bring us peace, we pray. In Christ's name, amen. Thank you so much, and we're going to take a 10-minute recess before we resume with our business. Introduce ordinance number 557 to amend chapter 2.04 of Title II of the Hawaiian Gardens Municipal Code pertaining to the City Council. Staff report.
This one's mine. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is one of few ordinances that you will be seeing in the next few months. we have been reviewing the municipal code and identifying ordinances and provisions of the code that are archaic, old, or require revisions because of changes of the law or because they're no longer applicable to the city and the community. We're starting with Chapter 204 pertaining to the City Council. In your package, in an attachment, is the actual language that we are redlining and to show exactly what we're changing. One of the things that we're changing is that there's currently provision in the code for the chamber's location and where the city council meetings are to take place, and there's no flexibility as to any other location. And nowadays, you do have meetings in the Public Safety Center, and you may have meetings in other locations within the city. And for that reason, we're adding the language that the City Council may from time to time adjourn regular meetings to another place and may conduct special meetings at such locations as are deemed appropriate. The government code does authorize meetings anywhere within the community. And you can have meetings outside the community in some special circumstances. The other change would be in terms of the meeting times. Currently, the code says that it specifies that meeting times are second and fourth Tuesdays each month, and we're proposing that these be adopted by resolution instead. So we would be changing the code to state that the date and time of regular meetings of the City Council would be established by resolution of the City Council. We don't have to do it this way. We can actually specify the dates and times in the code if that's what you prefer. But if you look at, for example, the old section 204-040 on the red line, it says promptly at 8 p.m. on the night of each regular meeting, the members of the council, city administrator, city clerk, city attorney, or other officers shall assemble at the regular stations in the council chamber. In the old days, you used to meet at 8 p.m. And we're not following that provision of the code today because you're now meeting at 6 p.m. And this is why I'm suggesting you adopt this by resolution rather than the code, because if you decide to change your meeting times or dates, you will have to amend it by ordinance. And as you know, the ordinance has to be introduced, read a second time, and then it becomes effective 30 days afterwards. So we're actually recommending that we delete sections 204-30, dealing with presenting matters to the City Council. A lot of these provisions were in place since the 60s, and the Brown Act has specific requirements on public comments, on posting of agendas, on order of agendas, and a lot of these provisions are already covered by the Brown Act, and therefore we're asking that we remove them from the code today. Same with the adoption of ordinances. The government code already specifies what the process is for adopting ordinances. And in terms of resolutions, these procedures for resolutions in the code really don't make sense. And in fact, you don't follow them either. So we might as well delete those. The other major item that we're changing is Robert's Rules of Order. Currently, the code says that your proceedings are governed by Robert's Rules of Order. And I am familiar with Robert's Rule. In fact, I was a Junior Statements of America when I was in high school. So we learned them. I've known them since I was a little kid. But fact of the matter is that they're rules normally used by legislatures that have multiple committees, 2 houses, and that's what they're for. Many small agencies, public agencies, and nonprofits use condensed versions of Robert's Rules. And what I will propose is that you adopt your own rules by resolution. And I already have a draft resolution with specific types of motions that you would entertain that, I feel that you can actually use because they're normally used. You move an item, you second, you have discussion, then you vote. And so at this next meeting, we'll be presenting a resolution with rules of order that you can consider. And again, these changes won't be effective until September. So we have time to work on rules, and I'll be presenting them at the next meeting. Other than that, everything else remains the same. And so with that, I would recommend introduction of the ordinance by title only, waive further reading, and introduce it, and then you'll have it at your next meeting for adoption. In terms of the meeting dates, in terms of the resolution that we'll be presenting to you, again, we can leave it the way we've drafted it in this proposed ordinance so that you adopt your meeting dates and times by resolution, but you can also leave it in the ordinance. You can specify, 6 p.m. on second and fourth Tuesday. I would request, though, if we do that, and I will be requesting once I bring a resolution to establish those, if you would consider changing your regular meeting times to the first and third Tuesdays. So that's something that I will be requesting at your next meeting when I bring a resolution for that purpose. So having said that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have quite a few, Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Where does it state on this resolution that's going to be implemented until September?
That's by state law, and it's an ordinance. So under state law, an ordinance cannot be adopted until 5 days after it's been introduced. So this is why we have one reading and then a second reading at the subsequent meeting. Mm-hmm. It's usually 14 days apart, which meets the requirements of the Government Code to be at least 5 days apart. Government Code also says the ordinances can only be adopted at regular meetings. So you will have the opportunity to adopt this ordinance at your next meeting. Then the Government Code states that ordinances can only be effective 30 days after their adoption. So once you adopt it on July 28th, it will be effective end of August, basically.
You're saying that these items are covered by the Brown Act, 2.04060. Is that correct?
Well, this particular one, what the Brown Act says is that anyone can present written communications to the City Council, and whenever the majority of the City Council gets a written communication, all of the City Council members have to get it, and the document has to be made available to the public.
My concern was more in regards of stating their first name and last name. That's kind of procedural.
Okay, yes.
That we already have at the moment.
Yes.
And we're striking that?
We're striking that because it's actually not permitted by the Brown Act. The Brown Act prohibits the City Council from requiring persons to state their name and to state their addresses. We requested, and thus far, no one has rejected the request, but I have been in public meetings where members of the public actually come with masks, and they want to be anonymous, and the law is if they want to be anonymous, so be it. Their speech probably won't have as much as an effect as someone who's actually identifying themselves as members of the community, but they nevertheless have the right to state anonymous requests before the council. We've seen this in other communities where they want to remain anonymous and not state their name or not even state where they're from.
Now 2.04.090.
Yeah, that provision talks about discussion procedure, and I will be recommending specific procedure in the resolution that I'll be bringing to you next meeting. And in fact, if you look at this procedure, it doesn't necessarily follow the procedures that we currently have today. So what I'm proposing to do is to actually memorialize the procedures we do have in a resolution.
So we're approving these procedures. I do have a problem with Robert's Rules of Order and replacing those with your proposals. Aren't we getting ahead of ourselves? Shouldn't we approve your proposals and then strike language?
Yeah, I mean,
procedurally, my question was, are we going to be without anything while we're, receiving your procedures?
Right. This is why I'm bringing a resolution next meeting, and it will be effective once this ordinance becomes effective. And again, this ordinance won't become effective unless you adopt it at your next meeting and 30 days after that. So by the time it becomes effective, you will have, provided you agree to my recommendations, you will have a resolution with rules in place. And you can adopt Robert's rules at that time. What I'm recommending is a abbreviated version of Robert's rules.
Well, yeah, it's a whole book of rules. All right.
Anybody else? So, I'd move that we adopt the ordinance.
Introduce.
Mhm.
It's an introduction.
The introductions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yes.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawaiian Gardens, County of Los Angeles, State of California, amending provisions of Chapter 2.04 of Title II of the Hawaiian Gardens Municipal Code pertaining to the City Council.
Okay. Number 2, on ordinances, conduct first reading and introduce ordinance number 558 to amend provisions of Chapter 1.01 of Title I of the Hawaiian Gardens Municipal Code to correct typographical errors.
This one's a little easier. And again, we're going through the whole code and identifying sections that need revisions. And this one, they just failed to include the word government code, and instead they used the word annotated, and I don't know where that came from. So all we're doing here is identifying the government code in these sections.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawaiian Gardens, County of Los Angeles, State of California, amending provisions of Chapter 1.01 of Title I of the Hawaiian Gardens Municipal Code to correct typographical errors.
Mayor, I do have a question in regards to this one. Again, it's the same thing. We're striking the operating hours of City Hall.
Well, let me read this.
Oh, sorry.
You're jumping the
I
gun
thought you were
a
going
little
to
bit.
take a vote already.
No.
Okay, great.
Number 3, conduct first reading and introduce ordinance number 559 to amend Hawaiian Gardens Municipal Code, Section 2.12.020 pertaining to City Hall hours, repealing Chapter 2.36 pertaining to the redevelopment agency, and repealing Chapter 2.56 pertaining to the home mortgage financing program. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this one has 559. The first section changes the times for City Hall off hours. And right now it stipulates that City Hall is open from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. However, your City Hall is open at 8 a.m. till, I believe, 5 p.m. So you're not even following your municipal code. So what my proposal is to change that. Again, you can set the hours of City Hall by resolution. And in fact, I believe your MOUs with the unions have the stipulated times. And those were adopted by resolution. So we may not even need to adopt the resolution specifically identifying City Hall times. I think that's already covered. But we do have 2 separate chapters of the municipal code. The first one is Chapter 236 that basically talks about the redevelopment agency. As you know, we no longer have a redevelopment agency, and we're operating as a successor agency pursuant to state law, so we don't need any special regulations. We have to follow state law. And the last one is Chapter 256 regarding the home mortgage financing program. That was a federal program back in the 80s that is no longer funded. It just doesn't exist. And so at this point, instead what exists is the home program, CDBG, and Section 8 housing. And we already have all those programs working in the city. I'm not sure when, if ever, this particular federal program is going to come back online. And so it's sitting on the books. It could raise questions as to why are we not doing it. And my recommendation is that we just remove that chapter from the code.
So my question again was, where is the resolution for this? So what does the MOU state as our hours?
It doesn't?
I don't.
There's a couple of things that I saw with this section on the hours. It's not just the hours, but also the holidays where City Hall is closed. I do recall distinctly that the MOU has the holidays specified.
Right.
And they're not all in this ordinance. And second of all, I noticed that the time specified in the ordinance did not coincide with the current City Hall opening hours.
Well, it seems you answered my question, though. You're going to present or not present a resolution before September 5th to get us covered in
Correct.
between resolutions. Okay, thank you.
Someone to make a motion?
Oh, so moved. Motion to approve.
Second? Are you seconding?
Go ahead. You did it.
Okay, I guess I can second it. All in favor?
Aye.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawaiian Gardens, County of Los Angeles, State of California, adding Chapter 15.22 to Title 15 of the, nope, wrong, I'm on the wrong one, sorry. Amending Hawaiian Gardens Municipal Code, Section 2.12020 pertaining to City Hall hours, repealing Chapter 2.36 pertaining to the redevelopment agency, and repealing Chapter 2.56 pertaining to the home mortgage financing program.
Okay. B4, conduct first reading and introduce ordinance number 560 to Chapter 15.22 to Title 15 of the Hawaiian Gardens Municipal Code to provide an expedited, streamlined permitting process for small residential rooftop solar energy systems.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, the Governor on September 21st, 2014 basically approved Assembly Bill 2188, which is known as the Solar Permitting Efficiency Act, which basically standardized the permitting process for roof-mounted solar systems. It also basically creates an expedited review process, which basically entails a faster plan check turnaround, a faster inspection processes. We're required to have a checklist that we are supposed to put on the website so that the permittee knows exactly what's expected of them in order to install the solar systems. And this is a state mandated, so we are required to adopt this ordinance by September 30th, 2015. So basically, by adopting this ordinance, we are creating Chapter 1522 and essentially creating a streamlined process as it pertains to these solar systems for single-family and duplex type of dwelling units. These would be for a system that's about a 10-kilowatt system or less. And I want to thank the City Attorney's Office for working on this ordinance.
Is the plan check right now is about 10-day turnaround?
No, something like this right now, because this is considered minor, these things are done pretty much over the counter. So as far as the current, right, so just because the way we operate in our city doesn't necessarily mean that all cities across the state operate the same way. So when it comes to these type of projects in our city, the planning process is pretty much right there and then over the counter. And so potentially could be, as long as you have everything that the building inspector needs, he could also issue permits right there and then. We will be required, though, to do consolidated inspections both with building department and fire department at the same time. So we have to coordinate with fire. So even though our code says that we may, require minor use permits and things like that, we don't require that at all. We do. Our department does favor solar systems, and we do encourage them.
Yeah, the other major changes are now we have to accept applications on the internet with electronic signatures. So that's going to be a change because I don't know that we accept electronic applications.
We don't have that system yet, but we're going to have to work on converting to something like that. And it's something that we'll be doing in the future anyhow to be able to issue simple permits over the internet, like a roof permit. A re-roof permit is a very simple permit to obtain. You can do those type of things over the internet. Water heaters. It's something that we don't have the ability yet, but something that we're going to look into.
Well, that would definitely be something for the technology committee for us to look into. How many houses have rooftops right now in our city?
I checked for the past year, and we've processed about 6 of them, not including the 2 big ones, which are being installed over on the Centralia apartments over the carports and the storage facility by the fire department. They're renovating the entire front office there. And they have a roof system there as well. Not functioning yet, but they're going through the process. But their systems are much larger systems.
Now, I know I met with Mr. Marquez and I with the representative from Mr. Rendon's office, and he was telling me about all this money that is being attached to the new water resolution in terms of conserving water and how we can access that for our city. Was there any money attached to this resolution by the governor that could be used to better access the program here? I mean, 6 houses in the whole city.
There used to be some incentives when this act first, and I don't recall what the original act was called, but when the Governor Schwarzenegger enacted this legislation, and there were millions of dollars allocated for our region through the Edison area, but for single family, I believe those have all been exhausted. There may be some left for commercial, but you can still get your 30%. I believe it's up to 30% tax write-off on your tax return.
That's expiring also.
Yeah, so
we missed the boat on that.
So there was at some point incentives, but at that time too, though, the systems were a lot more expensive. So they have come down in prices.
And what are those prices?
Well,
What is it like?
the prices, I mean, if you recall, we've installed some solar systems ourselves here through the city. We had partnered up with Grid Alternatives. I think perhaps Councilmember Victor Farfan and Mike Gomez may recall, back in the days when we did have RDA, we did subsidize, I don't know how many systems we installed, but through Grid Alternatives. Those systems were probably about an average of 1.2, 1.5 kilowatt systems, maybe costing $10,000, $15,000 range. I don't recall. The less usage you have in your home, the smaller the system. But I know that I had inquired at one time personally myself, and years back, and it was as high as $30,000. So they have come down in prices, but it would help if they came back with the incentives. But that'll have to come at the state level and federal level.
Right.
I had talked to a company during our Gateway Cities meeting, and because they went and did a presentation on this, but their system was that they didn't have to pay throughout the year. That at the end of the year, they would make the payment at doing their taxes, or they would be attached to the taxes, just almost like a lien. In Indian Wells, there was another company doing the same thing. So I asked them, I said, well, how is the interest rate going to be, throughout the year? So when you make your final payment at the end of the year, your interest rate and everything it's included in that, and it must be a huge payment. So if you don't make that payment, they can actually take your home away. And the interest rate, I tried to get them to give me an estimate on the interest rate, and they didn't quite want to give me one, but it was over 6%. They didn't give me a definite one. So we have to be aware of these companies that are doing this to make sure that the customer understands what their payments are in case they do come this way. And I'm pretty sure they will be going around cities trying to promote their systems and using that type of payment, which I don't think is a very good way to doing it, because you can easily lose your home if you don't make that payment. And like I said, they won't give you an estimate of how much the payment is going to be at the end of the year on your taxes. So we have to watch out for that. So far, there's 2 companies that I have talked to.
Well, I was at the conference this week in Independent Cities, and the issue now is usage, I guess, because the solar panels are pulling in energy at times where most people are working. So there's all this excess energy being pulled in, but the usage is not as high because it's during work hours. So it's completely different, the issues of access, but rather than the issue of usage. So.
So we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawaiian Gardens, County of Los Angeles, State of California, adding Chapter 15.22 to Title 15 of the Hawaiian Gardens Municipal Code to provide an expedited, streamlined permitting process for small residential rooftop solar energy systems.
Okay, moving to the consent calendar. Does anybody want to remove anything from the consent calendar for discussion?
I'm going to go ahead and pull number 2. And number 7.
I'm going to pull number 1.
That's it.
That's it.
Seeing none other, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar and the remainder of the consent calendar in its entirety.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll start with number 1. Adopt resolution number 051, 2015, to authorize the city manager to waive fees for the rental of city facilities to conduct a tattoo removal program.
Yes, Mayor and members of the City Council. Earlier this evening, you heard a presentation from our friends at Clean Slate Incorporated. They have submitted a proposal to the city to reestablish the tattoo removal program in our community. They also mentioned that the last time they were with us, we entered into a contract with them where we paid for their services on a monthly basis. However, this time around, they are proposing a different format. They have started the application process, as you've seen with previous potential customers, to utilize our facilities. Based on their status, they fall into Group C under our policies and procedures for facility rentals. So in order for them to conduct 2 days of services on a monthly basis, the cost would be $800, which does not include deposits. So staff is requesting that the City Council consider authorizing the city manager to waive these fees for this company to provide this service.
I have a question. What happens to the 15,000 or whatever it was we allocated for the program?
Great
Sounds
question.
like-
Well, if you recall, the city had previously allocated close to $30,000 a year. And we would get a monthly bill from Clean Slate depending on the number of Hawaiian Gardens residents that utilize their service. So we met early last week, and we were trying to come up with some options, viable options, being that obviously the budget is limited. But at the same token, the format previously was only to serve Hawaiian Gardens residents. Now it's going to be open to the public, so they'll be able to serve others from outside our community. So Marianne and Sylvia and I and Steve will be getting together to come up with a program, some type of waiver program, maybe based on income or some criteria. But we'll be sharing that information with you as soon as it becomes available. But she did commit to working with our residents and providing some type of incentive.
So you're saying that that money that we allocated would essentially go used to subsidize
Yes.
our residents only, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So then the $800 that they would normally be paying for rent, is there some way that can also go towards residents?
Well, I think that's part of the plan, that by them not having to pay the $800 a month, that's just additional resources we would have available for them to provide services to our residents.
So we're not going to provide up to $800 worth of payment for our residents in addition to the $15,000 that we've allocated?
Like I mentioned earlier, we haven't worked out all the details, Mayor. We're going to be meeting soon to do that. But the request submitted today is to waive fees to provide them some flexibility in terms of their overhead costs to be able to provide our residents additional services.
Mr. Marquez, I would be interested in working in that project. If you
Sure.
can include me in those meetings.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 2, adopt resolution number 052-2015 to approve pre-issued warrants and regular warrants in the amount of $1,122,508.66. Question regarding this?
Mayor, I pulled it, and council members, it's on page 25 that I'm referring to. It seems that there's quite a few withdrawals of replenishing petty cash to the Ballet Folklorico account, or by the Ballet Folklorico account. I'm almost positive that this is just a refund of the individuals in the program, but I'd like Mr. Gomez to explain to us what's going on with that project.
Yes, excuse me, that is correct. These transactions are refunds for participants who had enrolled in the program. And just to update you where we're at with the program, we have entered into a contract with a new instructor. And actually last Thursday, myself, staff, and our new instructor, Ms. Carmen Rodriguez, had a meeting with the Ballet Folklorico program participants and their parents. We contacted them via email as well as telephone. We also contacted those who had come to get their refunds for them to come to the meeting to see if they'd be interested in returning. So we had a very successful meeting. The plan of action is that a week from Thursday, which I believe is the 23rd, we've invited the participants to come so that they can be assessed. Being that we have a new instructor, she needs to be able to identify what class level the participants should be placed in. So we're hoping that the assessment will help her in doing so. Once that occurs, we are confident that we will begin our classes either the first or second week in August. The instructor is available to continue the classes that, as far as the days and times previous, which would be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday evenings. So her schedule allows her to continue with that schedule. So we really won't be inconveniencing the participants with the new format. So that is the update regarding the program. But to answer the question, yes, those transactions do pertain to refunds.
Now, any new individuals that want to participate, can they still do so?
Yes, they can register at the front counter. The fees are $15 for residents and $30 for non-residents. We are going to expand the current session, I believe, through late December, and then we'll start with the next session in the new calendar year.
Thank you.
Move to accept the warrants.
If there are no further questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
And then roll call.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yes.
Councilmember Farfan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rios?
Yes.
Mayor Bruce?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and number 7, update from HBE Landscape Architects regarding design services for the Carson Streetscape project for Carson Street between Pioneer and North Boulevards. Joe?
Mayor and city council members, we do apologize, but that's an item that we're requesting be tabled because we didn't know how long the meeting was going to go, and there was a whole team of architects that were going to come to the meeting. We ended up calling them and asked them to reschedule to next meeting. So.
Thank you, because I did at least want to see the project. I know it's moving forward according to this resolution, so.
Yeah, it is moving forward, and we'll have a presentation by Abe, either at the next meeting or the meeting after that, as I will be on vacation at the next meeting. So
Well-
it'll be your choice as to which meeting you'd want to have it at.
Well, if you're going to be on vacation, it doesn't seem,
Then it'll be for the August,
yes.
the first meeting of August. I think it's the 11th.
Now, I know that I was at a conference, again, citing the conference. They were talking about 6-foot sidewalks. Is that included in the plan? Like, as a way to attract more community?
We're not modifying the width of the sidewalks. We may be adding treatments to it, but we're not modifying the width of it.
Did you get input from the local businesses for this project?
Not yet. We are going to be presenting a presentation to the council as a council. We have 2 council members on the committee, which I believe is the mayor and Councilmember Ronaldo Rodriguez. And so we agreed that we would take it to the body as a whole and then go out to the community and solicit input from the community.
Thank you.
So the presentation is just strictly a presentation to get your feedback on the design that we've come up with so far.
When is the next meeting, when he's going to be here, Sue?
So,
If you can assist us with that? August 11th? I'd like to motion to table it then till August 11th, if that's okay.
Second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Is that going to fit your calendar and the team?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Mayor and council, can I bring your attention to item C6? I know no one pulled it, but our finance director's done a great job at creating a new monthly report, and I wanted to make sure, we all noticed that, and thank you, Linda, for doing that. If you just briefly explain what you did and.
When I started, I know that they had had a treasurer's report, and I was informed, we need to catch these up. So according to your investment policy, these need to be presented at least quarterly. So by doing this, this brings us in line with that. And so what I did was to go back in and make this current. So I did March, April, and May. And I do apologize. I put graphs on there to kind of graphically show where the percentage of things, the money fell. But when it's copied, you can't see the percentages on there, but they are listed at the top. Tried to give you a picture of those monies that are either invested in LAIF or that we have, and really all we have is LAIF investments and then our bank account. And then the ones that are not part of that, which would be your Civic League, your petty cash, and your successor agency cash that's held apart. So I just tried to give you this, bring you current. We'll do one for June. And then I'm going to be looking at changing the format to provide you a comparative statement so that you can see from month to month. We would have a report that's comparative month to month for this new year. So you can kind of watch how that changes. It doesn't change a lot, so it's not a dramatic thing, but it is a good way to present it. So.
Well, thank you, Mr. Marquez. I didn't pull it because she did such an amazing job that it's pretty much self-explanatory as I saw it. I usually ask her to explain to me in plain language, what do you mean? And this is very plain and explicit in terms of what the resources are and where they're at. So thank you.
We've already approved it, so thank you. Yeah, it's very helpful. Let's see, where are we at? We are at successor agency RDA meeting. We'll go there. And on that meeting, we have consent calendar with 2 items. Does anybody want to remove either one of those?
Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll adjourn to the next regular successor agency meeting to be held Tuesday, July 28th, 2015 at 6 p.m. And with that, we will move to a closed session.
Sorry, Mayor. I'm waiting for you to announce new business.
No.
Somehow I missed it in your...
No, I didn't announce it. I neglected to go to new business because I just don't want any more right now. To be quite honest. Okay, new business.
I didn't understand. New business. Taking from our item that was added to the agenda today by yourself, I would like to add Mr. Gomez's suggestion in terms of ways to enhance our relations with our police officers and the community. Maybe bringing us 3 ideas as to how to better that for the future. I know he suggested that. I suggested the complaint process. I guess that's already in place, maybe bettering that. And then another one, I'm not sure what that could be. Maybe we can all brainstorm and suggest it to Mr. Marquez, or we can bring it to that meeting.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this out there. At one particular time, right before the school season started, our school year started, we used to have a big event with the Sheriff's Department. And the Sheriff's Department used to have, just all these activities with the youth. And that was a good way to kind of just partner with the youth and say, start the year off. And so that was something, but we don't do that anymore. That's something we could look at in the future.
We do have 2 programs in place. We have the Alternative to Gangs program, and we do have the HEART program, right? So maybe we can have a presentation by those 2 staff members or individuals that are in charge of that program, or if there's anything else in the city that addresses bettering relations with the police department.
Yeah, we could always use some fresh new ideas to doing that. So what do we do? Form a group or committee, or are we just going to?
I can report back at the next meeting. Summarize everything we currently do in partnership with law enforcement.
Yeah, that would be a good idea to start with that, and then from there. Yeah, okay. Because we do some things that all of us may not be aware of. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else on new business?
How about council reports? I have a question.
Yeah,
oral staff reports, right?
Do you want to do that before we go to closed session? Is that what you'd rather do?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you said oral staff reports? Yeah, okay.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yes, Mayor and members of the City Council, just an update on a few programs. On Thursday, July 2nd, the city celebrated its Independence Day celebration at Ferguson Elementary School. We had approximately over 1,000 people in attendance. We provided giveaways. We had entertainment.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. A lot of horns, right?
In addition to ice cream, glasses, and toys, as well as horns, yes. And the night concluded with the fireworks show. And then this past Sunday, on the 12th at Fedi, was the annual car show. We had over 700 cars registered, with approximately over 2,000 people in attendance. We had food, various vendors, entertainment, as well as an award ceremony. So that event was successful as well. And then just an announcement on an upcoming event. This Saturday, July 18th, the Golden Age Club is having their quinceañera celebration. It is scheduled from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. They are asking a $10 donation per ticket, which includes food, and it is at the Mary Rodriguez Senior Center, once again, this Saturday, the 18th.
Mr. Gomez, going back to the car show, how much was raised on that car show? Or is there going to be a later report other than what you just mentioned?
Yes, there will be a final official report after all the expenditures and documents are received. However, the early projections as far as revenue totaled $17,500. I'm sorry, $17,527. Wow.
Is that profit?
No, that's just the revenue collected. Oh, okay. The expenditures to date was just over $15,000 with the $18,000 budget.
Okay, so then we'll be looking forward to that report because I got excited. Most of that money is going to be going back to the teams as we talked about last year, correct? So I was like, wow, these people are going to be very happy. So we'll just look for the final report.
Well, we'll need to review the budget on that, but I'm not sure what we suggested in terms of the revenues from the car show. Why don't we come back and we'll include it in the report when we summarize?
I think we got to find out.
Usually it was the difference. The profits were distributed
right,
in the past.
Any other oral staff reports? You have, yeah.
Yes. I just wanted to remind everyone that nominations for the 2 council seats that will be up this year started yesterday, and they will go until August 7th at 5 p.m. Monday through Wednesday, the clerk's office hours are 8 a.m. to noon and 2 to 5, and on Fridays by appointment only, because there's usually only one staff member here. And to come in and pull papers, it takes about a half hour or so to go over all the nomination papers for somebody that hasn't run before. And you have to be 18 years of age or older, a registered voter, and a resident of the city to run. So if you have any questions, call the city hall and ask for the city clerk's office, and I'll be glad to give you information.
Do you have information on the school board election? 'Cause it's
School board election, you have to go to the county to pull your papers, and it's pretty much the same dates from the 13th to
Would that be
August
at
7th.
the Register of Recorder's
Yes.
office in Norwalk?
Yes.
Okay, the same
Yes.
time frame though.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Because that will be, our election is with that. Oh, and I didn't bring it, but we were approved by the County Board of Supervisors to consolidate the election.
Okay.
Thank you. Oral council reports. Ray, you got some?
I think the one here should be Councilmember Gomez here on the Little League Golf Tournament. You can clue him in. It's going to be next Friday, right?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, we attended the car show, the 4th of July, and so on. It was very successful. We had a couple of glitches on the 4th of July as far as the hamburgers going out again. I think we're going to have to improve that next year. Because we had a lot of people in line. They were waiting there for 2 hours and they didn't get no hamburgers, and they were very upset. So we're going to have to come up with a solution on next year. Other than that, it was perfect. I mean, those fireworks were pretty low. You could feel the stuff coming down on you, but I mean, it was close and personal. So it was nice.
You could hear it even after the horns are blowing?
Well, there will be no horns next year for you who are in the committee. I mean, at one time when they were all, I don't know how they managed to get these kids to get together at the same time. You couldn't hear the band.
Yeah.
It was, so my suggestion on that is you guys do away with, don't think about it next year.
Hey, I thought Mexico scored a goal in the soccer game.
Well, if I can address the issue of the horns now. As a teacher, we measure it by standards. What was the objective of the horns? Which was to engage all the children that were present, and I think they were all engaged. So,
Yes, definitely.
in terms of success with the children, I agree with you. I mean, it was extremely successful, but if you look at the adults, they were very unhappy. So, yes.
Okay. Yes, you have anything? Okay, I have two things. We've received with our water bill a letter stating the how you can use the water. You know, the regulations on what dates and or how much water you can use, and violation fees and fines and stuff. Well, who regulates that? Who actually goes out and checks if somebody's using too much water or watering the wrong day or time or whatever?
The water district will do that, and well, this is not a water district; it's a private water company, and the state will actually do that as well.
Okay, so it's not our code
It's not
enforcement
us,
people
no.
doing that. Okay, because I don't remember us passing anything, so I was curious about that.
Yeah, because we don't have a water department and we don't provide the water, and that falls in the water purveyors.
Okay, okay, and then one other thing is. I was invited to actually, I'm going to go speak on Thursday. Cal Poly Pomona has a satellite class. I think it's at Pioneer High School, and it's for educators who are seeking their administration certificate, and it's apparently it's something they have to qualify for to become principals, vice principals, and so on. So these are all educators who are taking this, getting this course so they can move on. Anyways, they asked me to come and speak on. They wanted to talk about the relationship between cities and their school districts, and so I'm excited to be able to talk about things that we do here in our school district. And I must confess, my daughter's in that class, so that's why I was invited because she is. I think. This is. She doesn't have to do a report if she brings a speaker. So, but at the same, I'm going to be there speaking to these educators. So I think it's going to be fun, and I'm really eager to talk about our relationship with our school district and how it works. Thank you.
Just want to touch bases real quick on the 4th of July event that we had. It's a success when there's issues with parking because so many people are there, which is a good issue to have. And then obviously you run out of hamburgers, So it was unbelievable, the lines. I mean, there's just so many kids and parents there. So I just want to say, it's great because in the past we've hosted that event and it was hard to attract people. I mean, it was like one of those events where do we cancel it? But it's 4th of July, so we don't want to cancel. So I want to thank staff for being creative. I want to thank the committee for the hard work. And like I said, those are good problems to have. So thank you.
I also attended the 4th of July and the car show and the thing that at the Safety Center, the march this weekend. However, I also attended the Independent Cities Conference, which made me late to those events on Sunday, which was in San Diego, and I got a lot of great stuff. And one of the things that I know that we can assist as a city maybe with saving water is they were talking about gray water. I'm not sure if all of you know, but maybe utilizing the water from your laundry to recycle it back to your plants. I know a lot of people in our community are very proud of their fruit trees, are very proud of their plants. And a good house right now is a house that's going brown and ugly, because that means that you're saving water. So maybe we can have ideas to our residents as to how to save water or maybe do some sort of a program in regards to that. There are many, many other great, wonderful ideas. I was so glad I went because it was extremely educational. Also, in regards to my comment last week in regards to gateway cities, we do have 2 council members on it. I provided the committee list. Thank you, staff, for providing it to the council members. And Mr. Gomez, you're actually on it. You're a lead council member, and Mr. Rodriguez. So I would love to accept Mr. Rodriguez's invitation to Gateway, because I know you get to meet a lot of our counterparts in other great cities, and I met many of them this weekend. But I know both of you are already doing a great job on that. So thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez and I got a fine tour of our growing casino that was long overdue. I had actually missed the first tour that they scheduled for me, so I was very happy to go. Amazing tour, amazing amount of work, huge place, and look forward to taking another one in September when the walls are up. And so we're looking at opening much sooner than originally anticipated. So that's good news. So I appreciated that tour. Also, was able to go to Independence Day, enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. I did think that the fireworks were a little low this year. I don't know why, because I've never experienced that before. I had to move from where I was because I was getting eyes full of ashes. And I saw a couple of those tracers flying incredibly low. I really thought we were going to have a casualty. So I don't know why, because then I looked at their placement and I thought, well, it doesn't seem like they're that much closer or that much further away. I don't know what the deal was, but I was a little scared. But it worked out great. Everybody did have a great time. So it was great. I think this might be a poo-poo idea, but I really think we've had problems with hamburgers the last 2 years. I really think it would be great to have our groups be able to sell stuff, and then we give our nonprofits the opportunity to sell things. Nobody's complaining that they didn't get something, and that way we include a lot of other groups to help them out. But it was good. I really regretted, or not regretted, but was send my apologies for not attending the car show. I do look forward to that every year, and I didn't get to see it at all this year, except for one car with a siren behind me as I was driving away from the from the city demonstration at the Safety Center. I did go to that, and again, that was fairly peaceable. Tonight was wonderful how the community conducted themselves, And quite frankly, at the safety center, there was some conduct that was kind of inappropriate, but I want to make it clear that those were out-of-town people. They were not people from Hawaiian Gardens. And they were the loud ones, the boisterous ones, the ones with bullhorns, and they weren't even from our city, and they probably didn't even know Johnny. So, but our community has been very good, and I'm proud of them. I also had the opportunity to attend every single day the Way Out Ministries, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. They had over 100 kids a day from the community, and we ate a lot of chocolate and Oompa Loompas, and it was great. And the casino even participated with sending some kids for awards on the last day. So it was great. It was a great time by everybody. We had a blast. We'll go ahead now and move to our closed session, conference with labor negotiations, Government Code Section 5495 7.6. And so we're back from our closed session. There's no reportable action. We will adjourn this meeting to the next regular council meeting to be held Tuesday, July 28th, 2015 at 6 p.m.